His appearance has been brought forward after he had been scheduled to appear on the 1st of September. Cathy Mohlahlana reports.
The Madlanga Commission, which has been running for close to a year, is tasked with investigating allegations of criminal infiltration within law enforcement agencies. At the centre of the Commission's investigation is attempted murder accused Cathy Mohlahlana, who was awarded the multi-million rand South African Police Service Medicare 24 tender. Mohlahlana is expected to face questions about the awarding of the tender, his alleged links to criminal networks, and other evidence placed before the Commission.
Westbury residents in Johannesburg have raised concerns over the caliber of weapons being used in violent crime in the area. The concerns follow a deadly shooting on Saturday night in which 3 young men were killed. Police say the victims, aged between 18 and 20, were shot inside a flat in the area. 2 other people were injured in the attack. Anti-gang activist and Gauteng legislature member Bishop Dalton Adams says the apparent use of machine guns in the shooting points to a deeply worrying trend.
The fact that Uzi machine guns are being used is the first time that I see it, which actually tells me that this gang war and this hatred and killings has gone to another level. Now, Pearl, if that has gone to another level, we as the government, GPG and the GPL, Gauteng provincial legislature and the communities must go to another level. We cannot be sitting ducks.
A Limpopo influencer and event organizer is expected to appear before the Polokwane Magistrates Court this morning following his arrest in Pretoria on fraud and money laundering charges last Friday. His arrest comes after weeks of allegations circulating on social media regarding the source of his wealth. For TV, Maluleke reports.
The well-known influencer who is employed as a traffic officer at the Tshwane Metro Police Department has been making rounds on social media platforms bragging about his wealth before social media users started questioning the source of his wealth. He has been seen several times on social media broadcasts showing off his luxury vehicles and newly built house. Authorities are expected to provide detailed charges he is facing when he appears in court. Police say the primary suspect in the matter is still at large.
The SACP General Secretary Solly Mapehila has accused the government of national unity of being captured by capitalists. He made the remarks at the party's manifesto launch at its 105th anniversary celebration at the Tshwane University of Technology Soshanguve campus yesterday. He has previously stated that one of the reasons the party decided to contest the elections independently was the ANC's decision to enter into the government of national unity with a democratic alliance. He further reiterated that the SACP remains part of the alliance.
This government, the GNU, is captured by big capital. A clique of white businessmen are now in control of our country. The government has launched a program called Vulindlela. It is nothing but a front of white minority business people that are controlling our economy. This has to come to an end. We will end it.
And finally, the government of Lesotho says migration is a regional issue that affects all member states of the Southern African Development Community. It says when one country, particularly South Africa, experiences large movements of people, the impact is felt across the region. The issue was raised at the SADC summit currently underway in Durban. Lesotho's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dimpo Tau, says migration should be among the key topics discussed by regional leaders.
Even in the summit itself, the South African government would actually get an opportunity to lay its perspective when it comes to migration. So we really appreciate that, and we are happy that South Africa has had an opportunity to raise that. We are happy that it's actually tabled it. We're happy that we can then constructively engage on the issue of migration as a region, not only as South Africa, but as a region, because we deem that to be a collective, responsibility for us.
Recapping the top story, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry will hear the testimony of alleged cartel kingpin Cathy Mohlahlana when it resumes this morning. For SAfm News, I am Anne Musa.
It's a very good morning to you in your SAfm Sports Headlines. Soccer, Orlando Pirates returning to winning ways with a 3-0 victory over Chippa United. And in athletics news, Glen Rose Taba wins the women's race, the total sports women's race, to clinch the overall 2026 series title. We'll have all the details and more at around 6:30.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. It's a day of protesting, or at least a morning that we start off with multiple protests. Brooks Neck, Coxstar Brooks Neck on the N2, currently blocked by protesters that side. I'm going to just hold yourself back, particularly truck drivers. It can be a hijack zone there as well. You could really be exposed standing in traffic, so avoid Brooks Neck through Coxstar on the R62. Also the R61 near Zambia between Port Edward and Bizana currently blocked off. And we are hearing another day of disruption likely around Nkobo today in the Eastern Cape. That'll be into week 2 of that. Durban has a March in March event planned for the city centre from 9 a.m. Marchers will be gathering at City Hall, so that's very much central Durban. That's likely to be disrupted this morning and into probably the early part of the afternoon. Gauteng got a crash on the R21. It's southbound by Griffiths Road. If you're leaving the airport, watch out for that one. On your way to Boksburg in the N12. And Cape Town, no traffic lights as we start Monday morning. M7, Jake Serval R300. Heavy pressure coming out of Mitchell's Plain. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Briefing on SAfm. Clarity, context, and conversation. This is where the day begins with Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
It's 6:09. Welcome to the National Briefing. I'm Cathy Mohlahlana. A pleasure to be in your company as always, as we navigate our way through the early morning and of course start what is a brand new week. Well, what can you look forward to on the show today? In Durban, this is where we'll find President Cyril Ramaphosa opening the 46th SADC Summit. 9 heads of state in the room, 16 countries in the bloc. South Africa, of course, formally taking the chair for the year ahead. The program says it'll focus on industrialization, minerals, infrastructure, and agriculture. The conversation, however, in the corridors is about migration. And outside that summit, an anti-immigrant march has been planned. So a region that is promising integration, but we can't ignore the fact that this is happening in a host country that has been mired by controversy on the very subject of migration. It's the tension at the heart of this summit. We'll unpack it as the show unfolds. And then also this weekend, and this one really needs you to hold your breath somewhat, right? 30 people have been killed in the Western Cape. 3 people shot dead in a nuclear flat. 2 others were wounded. Let's remind ourselves, the army has been on our streets since the 1st of March. 2,200 soldiers, all at a cost of 823 million rand. The acting police minister has now said that we are not winning the war. So what does that admission really mean? What has the 822 or 23 million rand rather delivered for communities who this very morning are still burying their dead? It's one of the big stories that we'll focus on in the second hour of the show. And then a contradiction at the heart of our healthcare system, hospitals without enough doctors, yet we still have qualified doctors without jobs. South Africa had 1,518 vacant medical posts at the end of March. Samatu, however, says we still have close on 1,400 doctors that are unemployed. The health department says there is no register that exists of qualified doctors. We'll try to find out what is at the heart of that issue. And then, of course, we are still in our celebratory month. SAFM, South Africa FM, as it were, marking 90 years. And this is really where the nation has had the opportunity of hearing itself through democracy, division, progress and crisis. This month, we've been bringing you some of the voices that have shaped the national conversation. And this morning is going to be no different. We'll be welcoming onto the national briefing a broadcaster, a producer, a filmmaker, a writer, and she spent 13 years on air on this very station. That is Khanyi Magubane. She'll be joining me in the second hour of the show. And as you know, in the final hour, we'll turn the heat on her. So that's what's coming up on the national briefing. As always, I'd love to hear from you. The numbers to dial 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. That's where you can send your WhatsApp voice notes and text messages 0614 104 107. Rob is standing by with your traffic. Zai has your sport, and Ndaoleng has your latest market update.
Listening to the National Briefing with Cathy Mohlahlana.
It's 14 after 6 o'clock. Let's dive straight into the newspapers. I'll start off with the Business Day this morning. The Business Day leading top DAMP's firm faces Forex probe. Fintech group Castello, a misrepresented business. That is what is contained in an affidavit. The story, of course, going on to detail an explosive affidavit by the Reserve Bank, which is alleging that Castello, a fintech group founded by DA Federal Finance Chair Mark Burke, misrepresented its business activities to authorities. And this was all in a bid to circumvent the country's exchange controls. A legal battle is now raging between Castello, chaired by Burke and run by his brother Nicholas, and the bank over the freezing of some of its funds held with Access Bank. And it seems there that the central bank put a block on the company's funds in November last year, but not before Castello had externalized about 4 billion rand as part of its business dealing. So this is not a small business by any stretch of the imagination. And, you know, the accusation there is that that the bank suspects that Castello is using third-party allowances to externalize funds. So that's the big story on the front page of the Democratic Alliance. Also, rather on the front page of the Business Day, implicating a member of the Democratic Alliance. Also on the front page, state land could be used to speed up energy rollout. The Department of Electricity and Energy aiming to tap into land owned by the government and state-owned enterprises to speed up the rollout of renewable energy projects in reforms that include government-led land procurement for battery storage projects. The reforms are geared towards allowing investors to compete on price and technology rather than navigating complex land negotiations. That's the story being run there on the front page of the Business Day. The Citizen this morning, government wants black land. reads the headline, and a closer look at that headline. Restitution, farmers face eviction as promised title deeds and government support fail to materialize. Livelihoods have been threatened while properties are advertised, reallocated or repossessed. And a farmers association is now warning of broken promises and is preparing for urgent court action to defend communities whose survival depends on stability and fair processes. So there again, you have the story of what happens when there is neglect, right? Particularly when it comes to this conversation of restitution. Also on the front page of The Citizen, more gold for SA's Golden Girl. It's a picture of the two-time Grammy Award-winning South African singer and songwriter Tyla. She received the International Achievement Award at the 32nd Annual South African Music Awards at the Sun City Super Bowl on Saturday. The front page of the Sowetan this morning, contractor lifts lid on 16 million rand theft. And they've got a picture there of a building project that is seemingly incomplete and has been left that way. A businessman is saying Gauteng officials failed to probe alleged payment in millions of rand for construction work that did not exist at a Soshanguve school. Mkhize flagged a forgery after his firm was brought in to complete a project whose initial contractor spending is questionable. And that's the thing about corruption, right? How are you just going to not even bother to deliver? Yet the budget has been spent. Not a cent remains, but not even a brick to pretend that there was ever going to be work that took place on site. It really is devastating. And that's the story that you'll find leading the Sowetan. The Star then going with border control challenges this morning. More than 4,200 unaccounted for foreign nationals were intercepted attempting to enter South Africa outside formal ports of entry between April and July, and it highlighted continued gaps in border control. That's as 90,000 people were repatriated. They've done some extensive work into it. So the front page has a graphic giving down the breakdown of the operations that are being held, the number of people that have been deported, including the deportations that took place by air. And it also has the breakdown in terms of the repatriations by nationality. Malawians by far the highest number of those to be repatriated, followed by Zimbabweans, Mozambicans, Nigerians, Ghanaians, Ugandans, and Kenyans. So that's what's making front page news on the front page of The Star.
This is where the day begins with Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
All right, it's 20 after 6 o'clock. Let's take a look at your weather. There are no warnings or advisories. In Pretoria, the weather's fine, 7 and 24. The expected UVB sunburn index is moderate. Johannesburg, fine, 7 and 23. Vereeniging, fine, 3 and 21. Mbombela, fine, 6 and 23. Polokwane, fine, 5 and 24. Mahikeng, fine, 3 and 26. Vryburg, fine, 0 and 26. Bloemfontein, fine, 1 and 23. Kimberley, fine, 3 and 25. Uppington, fine, 8 and 29. Cape Town, partly cloudy with evening drizzle. Wind moderate northwesterly, 12 and 19. The expected UVB sunburn index very high. George, partly cloudy, wind light northwesterly, 10 and 21. Gqeberha, fine, becoming partly cloudy. Wind light southwesterly, 12 and 21. Kugombo City, partly cloudy, wind light to moderate southwesterly, 14 and 22. Durban, partly cloudy, becoming fine, wind light northwesterly, becoming light to moderate, northerly to northeasterly, 14 and 25. The expected UVB sunburn index very high. In Richards Bay, fine, wind light northerly to northeasterly, 13 and 27. In Pietermaritzburg, fine, 9 and 29.
To save money, you search multiple sites for the cheapest flight. So why not spend 10 minutes getting an Outsurance car insurance quote like 58-year-old Loretta, who saves
479 Rand. That's the third card insured with Outsurance, really saving quite a lot.
That's an unbelievable 479 Rand saving on Loretta's 2017 BMW 320. Do it now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance saves 36-year-old Jill a jaw-dropping 471 Rand on her 2025 Hyundai i20.
471 Rand. I still can't believe, hey? Get Outsurance. Extra pampering money.
Always getting something out. Did you know Outsurance has paid out over 8.4 billion Rand in out bonuses? So, ready to switch and save? Do it now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insured FSP. TCs and information online.
Get into real conversations weekdays at 4:30 on SABC2 with me, Penny Libiani, with Ain't Like Let's Connect.
I'm Frederica Lucas, bringing you some of the most inspiring guests and practical advice.
Every evening, we bring family advice and all your favorite celebrities.
It's a big celebration of local talent from across industries.
Catch Ain't Like Let's Connect weekdays at 4:30 on SABC2 or stream anytime on SABC Plus.
The Global Briefing on SAFM.
Well, let's get into our global briefing for this morning. We'll start it off in Britain. The death of a Cambridge professor, Jason Ade, has reopened the line between legitimate scrutiny and media harassment. Mbasa Mvenene is a political analyst and politics lecturer at University Walter Sisulu. Mbasa, good morning to you. Thanks for your time. Look, the case of Jason Ade, absolutely heartbreaking, right? He was accused of plagiarism, investigated and cleared of those allegations, but still subsequently offered a resignation in the last week, and only for his body to now be found.
Well, thank you for having me, Cathy. Well, I think this is really an unfortunate case that reminds us of the salutary resistance to racial progress, because the brother there symbolized progress, at least symbolically. And I think his appointment there at Cambridge really irritated or frustrated those who may be opposed to diversity, equity, and inclusion kind of policies. So he really then fell into the center of an ideological conflict, and it really resulted in personal harassment beyond just investigations and so on.
Mbasa, he was the youngest professor, right, appointed by Cambridge. One would think that this would be something that would have been celebrated and welcomed. What do you understand to have been the turning point?
Well, I think the celebration of his being young and him being black was something that would have been celebrated mainly by people who are progressive-minded. But I fear that for those who are conservative, that was seen or interpreted by them as, you know, a Ivy League university compromising standards in order to make diversity hires, as they refer to it abroad. So I think the investigation to, you know, look into his PhD thesis, that on its own was what created this controversy, and that then gave space or open space for conservatives to use the brother's appointment as a kind of battlefield to argue against this, you know, DEI or affirmative action.
Yeah, it was interesting because I read, I think it was from Al Jazeera, which reported that there'd been over 800 articles written about him in British media just in the last month. That is unbelievable, right? It's an onslaught. So certainly opening up a very important conversation to have, and an ongoing one where it concerns the role of the media. In the Gulf, we're seeing Donald Trump. He's threatened to declare the Strait of Hormuz American territory. It's really extraordinary language that we've seen him use. But of course, Iran is saying, well, you can't just do that using an X post and think that it changes everything.
Yeah, well, I think one of the Iranian leaders referred to it as fanciful delusions. And I think even if the U.S. does lay claim to the Strait of Hormuz, that will really be ineffective, because even if they do, Iran still has what we call denial capability, meaning that they will still make traffic movement within that waterway unsafe. And if it remains unsafe, then effectively it may still well be declared closed until the U.S. concedes to the demands of Iran. And by the way, Iran is still adamant that the U.S. must acknowledge that they've lost the war strategically. And so I think this is really by Trump fanciful thinking.
And if we switch on to Venezuela, then it's released 131 political prisoners. It's after Nicolas Maduro's rule. But is this reform or is it leverage? I mean, what will we need to see before calling this a genuine political opening rather than just as a concession to Washington?
Well, I think my reading on this is simply that the Rodriguez interim government is simply trying to negotiate with the U.S. I do not think that this is a process that is Venezuelan owned. I think it's something that the interim government is being pressured into. And so I think if it is that case, then it cannot be genuine. And I believe that even if there is a push for more harder reforms like your competitive elections and so on and so forth, the independence of the courts, but at the end of the day, we still have to ask the question about externally imposed regime change. So should we still refer to it or see it as democratic if it was compelled by the use of force by an external power over a country that is recognized as being sovereign? So I think that question there still remains, although we may see this as positive or progress, but we must still ask the question of the precedent that the U.S. is setting by doing what it did in Venezuela.
Mbasa Mvenene, political analyst and politics lecturer at University Walter Sisulu. That brings us to 6:30. Let's take you over to the news desk.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry will hear the testimony of alleged cartel kingpin Vuzimuzi Cat Matlala when it resumes this morning. His appearance has been brought forward after he had been scheduled to appear on the 1st of next month. A second suspect has been arrested for the murder of 2 anti-gang unit police officers and 2 women in Rega Park East of Johannesburg. And the 2 Congolese nationals arrested for allegedly trying to gain unauthorized access to the 46th SADC summit in Durban are expected to appear in the Durban Magistrates Court today. They face fraud and impersonation charges. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. We start south of Joburg with a big backlog on the N1, the inbound towards Joburg. It's a crash between the Golden Highway and the Deepcliff interchange. Traffic heading north, very heavy, almost back as far as the N12 Podge Highway at the Eldorado Park N12 splits. So big queues there. Also, roadworks on the N17, driving into Joburg this morning there between Osborne Road and Wits Rifles Road. So as you come out of Wadeville into Germiston, heading towards the toll plaza, that's all heavily backed up as well. Durban side, bit of pressure coming out of Shell Cross and Clavard, Hans Detman up to Wiltshire Roads busy. Protesting between Kokstad and Brooks Neck. There's been a bit of a backlog of traffic into that area this morning. You might want to just hold back a little bit, travel later on today rather than join a queue. Particularly if you're a truck driver, it can be a hijacking hotspot, that Brooks Neck area. And if you're just stationary in traffic, you're going to be totally exposed. So Brooks Neck should be avoided, either coming up from Mount Aleph or heading down from the Kokstad area. Also protesting between Bizana and Port Edward along the R61 road blocked by Mzamba Road Junction. And then driving into Cape Town, crash on the N2 this morning, inbound just after airport approach. It's up by the Robert Sobukwe Danafontaine Junction. That's slow coming in from Khayelitsha. And no traffic lights again. M7R300 heavy backlogs coming out of Mitchell's Plain. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
It's 6:32. You're still tuned into the national briefing. It's going to be one of those weeks because there are certain people that are going to just annoy us.
like
yes, she's wearing the colors. She's showing her true colors.
Yeah, you know what, guys? If you had any doubts last week, Orlando Pirates have answered you.
Hey, look at the smile. The mood just changes.
Yeah.
Okay, Zakan. So. Yeah. And not a bad win for Orlando.
Not a bad win.
They didn't do badly at all.
I mean, like I said, they answered you with a three goal reply. Thank you very much, Orlando Pirates. What a win for them last night. Convincing, in fact, over Chippa United. The Buccaneers leapfrog Kaizer Chiefs to the top of the standings. They'll turn their attention to the MTN 8 semi-final against Sekhukhune United. Let's hear from their coach, Abdul Salam Wadu.
The set pieces helped us as well to score and to push this opponent to come out, and we find a joy in the second half. And after, I think my players were free to progress with a lot of motivation, with a lot of trust as well, and we scored the second and the third. Yeah, I think the second half was really much better.
In the meantime, TS Galaxy and Golden Arrow shared the spoils. It was a goalless draw in Mbombela. And Cameroon are the champions of Africa for the first time, defeating surprise finalists Malawi 3-0 in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations that took place in Rabat. Maria Nga scored twice, while Naomi Etu added the third as the indomitable Lionesses finally lifting the continental crown after finishing runners-up on 3 previous occasions. Elsewhere, Arsenal have fired an early warning shot ahead of the new Premier League season, beating Manchester City 3-0 at the Community Shield. Ricardo Calafiori scored inside the opening minute before Kai Havertz and Martin Odegaard completed that victory as Arsenal comfortably outplayed Manchester City. And finally, South African road running star Glenn Rotqaba capped off a memorable Total Sports Women's Race Series by winning the Johannesburg leg and securing the overall series title. She timed her race to perfection, pulling away from Kenyan rival Brenda Kane in the closing stages. What a delight to the home crowd, and just shows she is definitely cementing herself as one of the country's premier distance runners. That's your sport. We'll be back running it at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Market Brief with Ndauleng Lechela on SAFM.
Ndauleng, good morning. I wonder if you're also gloating around like Zai Khan. How you respond is going to tell me everything I need to know about you, Ndauleng.
Good morning to Chief supporters and Chief supporters alone.
On that yellow note, let's start off with Japan. Growth slowing in Q2.
That's right, Cathy, starting with news, of course, from Asia, in the world's fourth largest economy, where we saw growth coming in at 1.1%. Now, this was well below expectations for 2% growth, as weak household spending and business investment offset resilient exports. Now, the slowdown matters beyond Japan, as the country is a major exporter and key source of global investment, and shifts in the Japanese economy can influence trade, currencies, as well as financial markets. Now, the figures also matter for the Bank of Japan, which is weighing another interest rate hike as it tries to normalize policy after years of ultra-low rates. For now, strong demand for Japanese cars and AI-related equipment suggests the economy remains resilient, but softer domestic demand is a warning sign. In other news, shipping activity through the Strait of Hormuz is slowing further, highlighting the growing impact of the conflict on one of the world's most important energy corridors. Now, just 5 commodity vessels crossed the strait on Saturday, and none were recorded on Sunday, down from 31 over the previous weekend. Now, that compares with more than 130 ships a day before the war. The slowdown is significant for global markets because the waterway typically handles around 1/5 of the world's crude oil and liquefied natural gas shipments. With fewer vessels moving through, prolonged disruption could tighten energy supplies, push up oil as well as gas prices, and also it's adding to inflationary pressure, particularly if the slowdown continues to persist. Now, as things stand, Brent is trending firmer around $89 a barrel. Now, those elevated oil prices remain one of the reasons markets are choppy, with Wall Street ending Friday in negative territory and the JSE also closing last week lower. But we're seeing a more positive tone as the new week gets underway, with Asian markets in the green. Tech stocks are leading gains in the region despite weaker than expected Japanese growth. Back home, the rand is on firmer footing, supported by higher precious metal prices and a weaker dollar. It's trading at 16.17 to the greenback, 21.91 to the pound, and 18.73 to the euro. I'll hit pause there and hand over to Cathy for the business tip of the day.
Thanks for that, Ndawling. This week's FNB business tip for the day. We'll continue, of course, with Women's Month, and it really is an opportunity to recognize the important role women play across South Africa's economy, including in sectors that have traditionally seen lower levels of female participation. Now, agriculture remains one of the country's most important industries, supporting food security, employment and rural development. As the sector continues to evolve, there's growing recognition that creating opportunities for more women to participate in, lead and own agricultural businesses can strengthen the industry's future. Diverse perspectives, skills and experiences can help drive innovation, resilience and long-term growth in any sector. This week, consider what inclusive growth means in your own industry and how greater participation can help create stronger businesses and more sustainable outcomes. On Wednesday, we'll explore why agricultural transformation matters now more than ever and what it means for the sector's future.
Africa in Focus with Advocate Sipho Mantula on SAfm.
A refreshing morning to you, Advocate Mandula. We'll, of course, there's the big SADC 46th Ordinary Summit that's taking place, but we're going to be speaking to Sophie Mokoena about that shortly. So we'll then look into our neighboring Zambia and election results that are expected there.
Refreshing morning, Cathy, and jump officer to the listeners. Indeed, Cathy, I can see there's a tongue twist. They've been away for 3 days. Cathy, when you look at SADC summit, I think briefly one will expect it to bring operationalization of the SADC Regional Development Fund, popularize this day, Cathy. If we don't know 17 August, why then are we commemorating and observing the SADC summit? Very important, and I think that will come out. But back to Zambia, Lusaka has decided, Cathy, election results are still trickling. Yes, Friday there was what we'll call stop and go situation where there was the vote counting was stopped for almost 6 hours following reports of violence against the polling staff and as well as alleged theft of the ballot boxes. The man that will be seen this week and who has to announce these results is Manwangala Salumisi. He's the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Zambia, who must give us the clear indication, because it seems it is tied to Taiketi between Hakainde Hechilima and Brian Mudumbule, who are also going on this tie. Observer missions are saying there is a concern coming from SADC, from the EU, from the International Great Lakes. I saw Masisi's view as he was observing under the International Conference of the Great Lakes, saying that this is worrying. It might also cause some conflict, and also the raiding of one of the opposition leaders' houses over the weekend, Cathy. So Zambia didn't go relatively well, Cathy. Let's wait and see what will come out this week.
Let's then take a look at Zimbabwe, and this ferry is really such a tragedy. They're continuing to count the number of those killed.
Indeed, Cathy, very sad that the numbers that we counted last week, it was around 40. Now, Cathy, we have doubled. We are in 80 now. That what has happened, that ferry was run by the government Rural Infrastructure Development Agency. It was on Tuesday, Cathy, but over this weekend, the numbers are now have gone up. 77 have been rescued, but children also, Cathy, have died in the Lake Kariba capsizing of the boat. A serious concern, Cathy, because remember, this is the border between Zimbabwe and Zambia. Others are calling it the world's largest man-made lake by volume, and that's why we are having this concern. Probably the SADC summit might look at our humanitarian response on such cases when they appear in the SADC region.
And then for our historical archive, we're looking at the 17th of August, 1887.
This man will have been 139 years, if he was still alive. He's a Jamaican-born national hero. Pan-Africanists, the Rastafarians, they will always talk about Marcus Garvey. This is a man who was born on this day. A vivid reader at a very young age, influenced many organizations from Namibia, South Africa, and all over, including Ghana, Nkrumah, when you think of the Black Star Line. And this day is being commemorated as well as in Jamaica. And globally, like I said, this is the day where people are looking at the impact of Marcus Garvey on Back to the Africa movement. Asante Sana is also leading the Truvezation SAFM, observing the Women's Month, the Saturday Day, as well as the 90 years of SAFM.
Running a small business means every rand counts. Thanks to My Way Business Insurance, I save up to 20% on my insurance premiums every month for my buckies and tools of trade. Now, I get to save some extra cash for my business and focus on giving my clients world-class service.
Switch to My Way Business Insurance and save up to 20% on your buckies and tools of trade. Real businesses, real savings. Call us on 0860 646464 for a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. Standard rates and T's and C's apply.
SABC Plus has reached an exciting milestone, surpassing 3 million registered users and cementing its position as one of South Africa's fastest growing streaming platforms, bringing together live TV, radio, sport, news, video on demand and catch-up content. SABC Plus continues to connect millions of South Africans with the content they love anytime, anywhere. This achievement reflects the platform's growing popularity and the SABC's ongoing commitment to delivering world-class digital experiences. Download the SABC Plus app today on iOS or Google Play Store, or visit www.sabcplus.com to join the millions already streaming.
Cathy Mohlahlana is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
It's 6:45. You're still tuned into the national briefing. Let's take a look at this story. President Cyril Ramaphosa chairs the 46th SADC Summit at the Luthuli Convention in Durban, South Africa, formally taking chairship of the 16-member bloc, a seat we've held on an interim basis since November. This was when Madagascar relinquished it. The official theme is industrialization, infrastructure, agriculture, critical minerals. But of course, we also know migration has taken over the corridors. Lesotho saying it must be treated as a regional problem, not as a South African one. At his public lecture on Friday, Ramaphosa told the region we cannot preach integration at summits while allowing exclusion to take root in our own communities. Now, later this morning, we are expecting a March to take place. SABC international editor Sophie Mokwena is at the Durban ICC. Good morning, Sophie. Thanks for your time. So there's been a couple of days and events leading up to what is the official start of proceedings today. Give us a sense so far, what's the mood like? How are the interactions taking place? And how much pressure is really on South Africa on this question of migration?
I don't think South Africa is currently under pressure when you look at the conference itself or the summit itself. Malawi wanted the issue of migration, South Africa in particular, to be on the agenda of the summit. But you know that summits such as this one, you prepare the agenda early, and therefore you cannot come with something on a short notice unless it's a big one, an emergency. Now, Zimbabwe and Mozambique did push back, saying that the matter can be raised by those who will be making inputs, but it shouldn't be on the agenda. Particularly Zimbabwe did the same a few weeks ago. You'd recall when there was a meeting of foreign affairs ministers at the AU level, the Council of Ministers at the AU level. We are told that it was Zimbabwe, supported by SADC member states, who pushed very hard, opposing Ghana and Nigeria to have South Africa on the agenda of the AU. And therefore, yes, it will be raised because you cannot ignore it when the president is making remarks. He is going to touch on that. And I think he will also engage. He has met quite a number of heads of state and government. I think in those bilateral, this matter has been discussed.
So we've got 16 member states that are part of the SADC region, 9 heads of state attending the summit. What does that tell us about the balance that are not in attendance? And really, there will, of course, be a push for South Africa as chair to realistically see what it can deliver during its term. But what is it really up against in terms of getting this bloc to act with and to speak with one voice?
Well, in any summit, sometimes you don't have 100% attendance of heads of state and government. It does happen. Yes, here you have Tanzania, DRC, Zambia, and Comoros not participating. They are not here. They are participating, others having sent delegations. For example, Tanzania has sent its vice president. You have a country like Malawi, they have also sent a second vice president. DRC is led by the vice president also. And then you have other countries, Comoros in particular, not participating because they are owing. Now, with the DRC, the reason we were given was that the president of DRC will be on a state visit in Tanzania, and therefore the host clearly was not going to come. But when you look at the political dynamics behind the scenes, DRC was aggrieved when SADC pulled out its forces in that country. You would recall the withdrawal. it got even more tense when South Africa even pulled out from MONUSC, that is the UN force in the DRC, a complete withdrawal from the DRC. And you know that they were dependent so much on South Africa. And it's understandable because South Africa has done so much for the DRC. And then you have the DRC, the Doha talks. We are not invited to assist because this is a matter in the region. You look at the US talks, which for me, it's not peace talks, but it's economic talks because it's give and take. America wants resources and the minerals of the DRC. And that led to the tension. In Tanzania, you'd recall after elections, because elections were marked by violence, South Africa didn't congratulate Tanzania. So that could be the reason. Malawi, you know, the president of Malawi is not well. When he comes to South Africa all the time, he's not coming here for fun, he's coming here for treatment. But they are in denial. They don't want to say it publicly that when he comes here, he comes for medical checkups and he's not here. And Comoros has pointed out the reason is that they are owing, they didn't pay. And lastly, Zambia, we all know it's elections. During elections, you dissolve cabinet, and therefore participation was not going to happen. And Zambia is the incoming chair. South Africa will hand over to Zambia next year. So whoever is announced as the president of Zambia is going to be the chair of SADC in the year 2027.
Sophie, I knew that you'd be able to give us, just that additional layer, that beyond what we read on the headlines layer of what's truly at play where this summit is concerned. So let's then talk about the critical issues on the agenda. We're seeing, the focus on industrialization. We've got the Africa Free Trade Agreement in play. There have been commitments by SADC to also do more trade with each other. What's getting in the way? Because unfortunately, some of the big projects in the region seem to have come to almost a standstill. They're not taking off at the rate that was anticipated, whether we're looking at gas, whether we're looking at the development of pipelines. It's just stalling.
For the African Continental Free Trade Area to be implemented, you must first have integration at regional levels, whether you talk ECOWAS, that is the West Africa, the North Africa, and EAC, the East Africa, and SADC. If the regional organizations themselves are not integrated, then you can't have a continental integration, and that's where the problem is. But secondly, the problem is these countries, they talk, they come up with grand ideas when they are supposed to ratify the agreements, because you can sign. If you don't ratify, you can't implement. You can implement if you want to. You are not compelled. And that's where the problem is. The same with movement of people and goods. You have the protocol in the SADC region, but you have only a few countries, 9 countries who have ratified, seven who have ratified. You have to ratify, and the quorum there must be 11 countries. And therefore, if you don't ratify the protocols, implementation becomes sluggish, and that's where the issue is.
Sophie Mokwena will leave it there. Comprehensive look at the SADC summit.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Really heavy on the Joburg Highway networks this morning. Earlier crash had a couple of breakdowns on the M1 North before Deepcliff. Very heavy coming off the N12 Potch Highway. Deadman's Bend up through Eldos and Devlin into that Deepcliff interchange. Further up, a crash on the Mike 1 North near Corlett Drive. So heavy on your way to Sandton. Roadworks on the N17 inbound after Osborne Road, causing delays through the Gosforth Plaza area. And a broken down truck on the R21 between Nell Mapiers Drive and St George's Hotel. If you're airport bound this morning, there's quite a heavy queue building up through there as well. Durban-Hunstedman Highway moving up from Shallcross and Klaarwater remains slow towards Wheelchair Road. Protesting between Kokstad and Brooks Neck. You're advised to avoid travel in that area until that situation is being cleared. The road has been reopened and the backlog of traffic has got through. Cape Town crash on the N2 inbound at Robert Sobukwe. Traffic seems to be moving okay up to that point, but it gets heavy after Robert Sobukwe all the way through to Mowbray Main, and no traffic lights. M7 R300 heavy pressure out of Mitchell's Plain. Both of those routes jamming. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
There's been no electricity for a week because my neighbours overloaded the transformer with their illegal connection. My daughter can't study at night because my neighbour blew our transformer by bridging his meter. My neighbours have been buying electricity from illegal vendors and using it carelessly. We live amongst them and allow them to vandalise vital electricity infrastructure. We need to stop that. Report illegal connections to Eskom on 0800 112722 or the SAPS. Save your transformer. Save lives.
This is Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
It's 6:56. Let's get into the story now. So South Africa spends years and a great deal of public money training doctors. However, by the time that they're done serving the state, the internship and then community service, many still find themselves without jobs. And that's exactly what SAMATU is highlighting today. Dr. Mthanji Bengeza is the second deputy president of SAMATU. Good morning, sir. Thanks for your time. So you're really raising the flag over the high number of unemployed doctors in the country. What do those numbers look like?
Good morning, Cathy, and your listeners. The rising number of qualified doctors who remain unemployed after completing their community service is a real concern in our country. And from our side, we're saying that it is as a result of poor planning from the side of the government. Although the exact numbers keeps on fluctuating each year, they keep on increasing. And it is because of the shrinking resources that are allocated to the Department of Health by the state. I'll just make an example. In one of the hospitals here in South Africa, only 3 doctors are on call, meaning who works after hours or on weekends. If there is an emergency case that needs theatre, all 3 doctors go to theatre, and on the floor, there will not be a doctor. These are the challenges that we are facing as the country. Thank you.
So in the midst then of this poor planning and this inability to absorb these doctors, we're also sitting here with a challenge around the register. There doesn't seem to be any national register of these doctors. Is that correct?
The register, in terms of, I just want you to qualify that.
As in a register which tracks which doctors are available in the pipeline, how long they've been waiting for a job for. Do we have a central database?
Last year and the year before that, we had submitted from our side, because we do have. We even shared that database with the Department of Health nationally. I think there is from our side. I'm not sure if they kept it from the side of the state.
Why is this an emergency in your view?
It is an emergency in our view because if you do not employ qualified doctors today, this means the public health is going to have shortages in terms of the number of doctors that we are employing. As a result, our people on the ground will then suffer the consequences of the economic system that we have chosen.
Dr. Mthanji Bengeza, second deputy president of SAMATU. That's where we'll leave it. It is 7 o'clock. Time for your latest news update with Anne Musa.
Theft, accident, and 1 million rand third-party cover for your older car. Outsurance Essential has it all. Get a quote. SMS car to 43185. That's car to 43185.
In our top stories, Matlala returns to the Madlanga Commission and a second suspect arrested over Reiger Park shooting. Good morning. The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry will hear the testimony of alleged cartel kingpin Vusimuzi Matlala when it resumes this morning. Matlala is expected to spend today and tomorrow on the witness stand. His appearance has been brought forward after he had been scheduled to appear on the 1st of next month. Sibahle Mota reports.
The Madlanga Commission, which has been running for close to a year, is tasked with investigating allegations of criminal infiltration within law enforcement agencies. At the centre of the Commission's investigation is attempted murder accused Vusimuzi Matlala, who was awarded the multi-million rand South African Police Service Medicare 24 tender. Matlala is expected to face questions about the awarding of the tender, his alleged links to criminal networks, and other evidence placed before the Commission.
A second suspect has been arrested for the murder of 2 anti-gang unit police officers and 2 women in Reiger Park, east of Johannesburg. Police spokesperson Athlenda Mate says a 24-year-old man was arrested yesterday following community tip-offs. The killings happened last Friday when the 2 police officers responded to a shooting incident where 2 women were shot dead. Mate has appealed to residents to continue working with police.
The 24-year-old male suspect was arrested on Sunday afternoon in Reiger Park following an intensive tracing operation by the multidisciplinary team. The acting national commissioner thanked community members for standing up, speaking up, and providing information that assisted the police in tracing the suspect. So far, 2 suspects have now been arrested in connection with the murders. The latest suspect is expected to appear before the Boksburg Magistrates Court this week.
Westbury residents in Johannesburg have raised concerns over the caliber of weapons being used in violent crime in the area. The concerns follow a deadly shooting on Saturday night in which 3 young men were killed. Police say the victims, aged between 18 and 20, were shot inside a flat in the area. 2 other people were injured in the attack. Anti-gang activist and Gauteng legislature member Bishop Dalton Adams says the apparent use of machine guns in the shooting points to a deeply worrying trend.
The fact that Uzi machine guns are being used is the first time that I see it, which actually tells me that this gang war and this hatred and killings has gone to another level. Now, Pearl, if that has gone to another level, we, as the government, GPG, and the GPL, Gauteng provincial legislature, and the communities must go to another level. We cannot be sitting ducks.
The state is expected to continue the cross-examination of accused number 4, Taufik Brown, in the trial of alleged gang boss Nafiz Madak in the Western Cape High Court today. Brown has featured prominently in recent state evidence relating to the 2019 murder of Nicholas Hirschkap and the attempted murder of Cape Town attorney William Booth in 2020. The state alleges that Modak orchestrated the crimes and used co-accused Zane Keelan to track Booth ahead of the failed assassination attempt. And finally, 2 Congolese nationals arrested for allegedly trying to gain unauthorized access to the 46th SADC summit in Durban are expected to appear in the Durban Magistrates Court today. They face fraud and impersonation charges. NatJoin says they were arrested on Saturday. Police allege they tried to enter the Durban ICC using accreditation belonging to someone else. The third person arrested earlier is a Zimbabwean national. He allegedly tried to obtain accreditation by posing as a performing artist. National Police spokesperson Athlenda Mate says the man also faces a charge of being illegally in South Africa.
The Zimbabwean national faces a charge relating to being illegally in the Republic of South Africa. The two Congolese nationals face charges of fraud, impersonation and contravention of the SARS-REA Act relating to entering a designated area without authorization.
Recapping the top story, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry will hear the testimony of alleged cartel kingpin Vuzimuzi Cathy Mohlahlana when it resumes this morning. For SAfm News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance Essential is made for older cars. Claims are paid in cash within 5 working days, and you choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
You wouldn't pay celebrity chef prices for instant noodles, so why overpay to insure your older car? Outsurance Essential Car Insurance covers older cars for much less. 68-year-old John pays only 391 Rand a month for his 2014 Chevrolet Sonic, gets claims paid in cash and chooses his own panel beater. Get Outsurance Essential Car Insurance today for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 150,000 Rand. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SAfm Sports Headlines. Soccer. Orlando Pirates start the week on top of the Betway Premiership. And we also bring you news from rugby. The Springboks enter the test week with the All Blacks looming at Ellis Park. All the details at around 7:30.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's a busy back to work Monday on Gauteng highways, particularly Joburg, and especially going north. The N1 from the N12 Potch Highway up through Eldos and Debler towards Dinkler, very heavy backlogs there, around a couple of breakdowns. The Mike 1 Boysons to Empire, and then from that point all the way through to Caller Drive, you got big traffic coming up through Braamfontein, and then you got a crash up at Caller Drive in the Melrose area. N12 and R24 routes heading into Galulis are busy. Also, if you're coming off the East Rand in from Brakpan and Springs area, roadworks holding you up at both Rondebolt Road and after Osborne Road. 2 queues to work through. Stationary truck causing a big delay coming from Nell Mapius Drive on your way to the airport. That truck stuck around St George's Hotel territory. Very heavy queues on that section of the R21. Mighty Montpellier Highway from Theo Martins down to SKM Patlali. Super heavy backlogs there as well. Durban, the M13 from Hillcrest down to Kloof is slow. And then the M13 out of Pinetown through Stapleton Road towards Paradise Valley. Very busy as well. N2 North from Amansam Toti heading up to Prospecton's busy. There's also a crash running south on the N2 as you approach the Prospecton area, and big traffic on the Kumashu Highway, very heavy coming down from Malindella through Dust Road on towards the N2. Cape Town this morning, N2 inbound, Robert Sobukwe to Hospital Bend's busy. M5 queuing up from Wetton Ottery territory all the way through to Maitland, and no traffic lights. M7R300 backlogging traffic on both routes leaving the Mitchells Plain area. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Briefing on SAfm. Clarity, context, and conversation. This is where the day begins with Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
It's 10 after 7 o'clock. You're tuned in to the national briefing. A very good morning to you and a special warm welcome if you've just tuned in. I'm Cathy Mohlahlana with you until 9 o'clock as we lead conversations that move us, bringing you context, clarity and conversation. Coming up in this hour, more than 30 people killed in the Western Cape over the weekend. The chairperson of Parliament's Police Committee says Operation Prosper is not prospering. Ian Cameron joins me in 3 minutes. And SAfm is 90 this month, and we're bringing back the voices that built this station. And this morning we have none other than producer, filmmaker, entrepreneur, political analyst. What is it that she does not do? Khanyi Magubane. A very good morning, Khanyi.
A very good morning to you, Cathy, and the listeners of SAfm. I have not said those words in years.
And it's a long time that you said those words. 13 years. To be exact.
13 years. My journey started as a radio producer. And when we get into it a little bit later, I'm going to tell you how that even started. But 13 years just flew by so quickly.
Well, it's such a pleasure for us to have you back at your home where it all began, right here on SAfm. So Khanyi will be joining me right through until the top of 9 o'clock as we co-host the show. And then, of course, still ahead in this hour, we are starting a brand new theme on the reality check. And this week, we're focusing on the National Reconciliation Project. I'll tell you who our guest for this week is a little later in the hour. As always, the conversation belongs to you. Would love to hear from you. The numbers to use this morning for our studio line, 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. Rob is standing by with your traffic. Zai has your sport, and in Taoleng, your latest market update.
Looking for exclusive content, live events, and special broadcasts like the Madlanga Commission? Then connect to the all-new SAfm Connect stream. The Madlanga Commission, live and uninterrupted from 9:30 Monday to Friday. SAfm Connect brings you more of the conversations that matter. Listen anytime, anywhere by visiting connect.safm.co.za or stream directly on SABC Plus at sabc-plus.com. SAfm Connect. More conversations, more access. There's much more coming.
It's 13 after 7 o'clock. Deciding to ignore your alarm may cost you your complimentary hotel breakfast, but deciding to stay with your current car insurance could be costing you thousands of rands in savings a year. With Outsurance, 48-year-old Adam saves an unbelievable 1,803 rand a month on his 2020 Audi Q3. Switch to Outsurance. You could be one quote away from having more money in your pocket every month. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer and FSP, T's, C's, and information online.
This is where the day begins with Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
Well, it's 14 after 7 o'clock. Let's get then into our big story for this morning. 2,200 soldiers and 823 million rand. 5 provinces all affected, and this really has been the state of play since the 1st of March. However, this past weekend, more than 30 people were killed in the Western Cape. Between the 2nd and the 9th of August, that tally adds up to 70. Police have reported no arrests. And it's really just the devastating state of affairs. This weekend, we'll also look at the escalating gang violence that has been reported in Gauteng. Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Police, of course, has been speaking on this matter. Ian Cameron joins us from that committee. Ian, good morning to you. Thanks for your time. There seems to be no hope left in terms of what it is that the soldiers can accomplish in the communities that they've been deployed in. The acting Minister Feroz Kachalia did acknowledge that we're not winning the war. That's what he's been quoted as. We're not winning the war. What does that tell you about the reality of the situation?
Good morning. Yeah, no, I mean, you've indicated all the direct consequences of this crisis already. Look, I must be honest with you that the soldiers and police members on the ground, the majority of them also feel very frustrated because they say it feels like they're often fighting blind. What they told us on Friday when we visited some of them in Cape Town was that, it feels like they're not intelligence-led, or that even if they know something, so for example, there's a specific house that has a specific stash of, I don't know, drugs or firearms there, then it often feels like they are deliberately led to go somewhere else. So the frustration is real, and unfortunately, it also seems that there's a bit of a mistrust between the different authorities that are meant to work together.
Deliberately led somewhere else, that of course points to infiltration within the communication centers of the police and of the SANDF, because one would imagine that the information that is being shared amongst them has been checked, that there are processes that these police officers are undergoing before they share it with each other.
Yeah, a lot of the specialized units from the police and then some of the soldiers indicated to us that they often feel that the frustration is especially at station level of the police, so that there are specific stations that are increasingly problematic, that when, for example, the military along with specific one or two police units go to assist in a specific station area, they feel, and they indicated to us, that they very often see that the suspects were tipped off about them arriving. So they feel that it is not sustainable to have local police members that often live in the same communities try to combat these issues. So I guess it's logical, right, though? I mean, if we think about it, and we've seen it over the years, that it's important, especially with these types of operations, to change members, to circulate them, that they don't always know where they're going next, and that it's one way of ensuring that no one gets too comfortable or familiar with a particular area.
Major General Jeremy Veery says we now need to declare a state of disaster. Looking at the comments also coming out of Willem Els at the Institute for Security Studies, he's characterized it as a governance crisis and not a policing one. How do we move beyond this paralysis, Ian, that we seem to be stuck in? Because the point is that while we're trying to figure out what may be the cause of the paralysis, the killings are going on, the impact of the on the communities remains the same.
Well, let me give you an example. On Friday, while the police committee, along with the Joint Standing Committee on Defence, are literally in Mitchell's Plain, less than 3 kilometers away, 2 kilometers away from where we're standing, they continue to kill someone while they know there's this massive police operation going on just down the road. So there's a total disregard for law enforcement. I agree that it is a governance crisis. I think we're far beyond it just being a short-term policing crisis. I think obviously there are socioeconomic aspects to take into consideration, etc. The long and the short of it is we're not actually using a lot of our specialized capacity. We look at units like TRT, they're not being utilized in many of these operations. In the Western Cape, as an example, TRT are not used at all for Operation Prosper, yet we deem it necessary to bring soldiers in, which in itself doesn't make sense. And we also haven't seen a real integrated strategy with, for example, the MPA. Now, a typical example is we've got this problem with illicit firearms being used in gang violence, but we didn't bolster any kind of forensic capacity or prosecutorial capacity to see to it that we can get convictions quicker, maybe fast track some of these cases. So we've got increased visible policing operations And what we're in effect actually doing is we're just clogging the system even more. So I think we need a rethink on how do we fast track, prioritize, and target very, very specific basic things. And we will then see movement.
Very quickly, Ian, is there still any benefit to the deployment of the army, given the fact that there are no results and seemingly there's a credibility issue? So the cover's been blown. The criminals are not scared. They continue doing crime anyway.
I think there can be. I think if we change our approach, maybe just rethink it a bit, pull in the the necessary prosecutors, that we have a prosecution-led approach along with the necessary intelligence, we can actually still utilize it to have some success. But that remains to be seen.
Ian Cameron will leave it there. And of course, he is a member of Parliament with the Standing Committee, the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, rather, on police.
Drivers, that smoke ahead is not just smoke. It's a wall, thick, blinding and deadly. Never drive into felt fire smoke crossing the highway. You won't see stopped vehicles until it's too late. Pull over, turn on your hazards, wait it out. One decision can save lives, including yours. See and be seen this winter. Brought to you by the National Department of Transport.
Outsurance knows insurance isn't tested on promises. It's tested when it's time to claim. The Ombudsman, an independent body that rules on complaints, confirmed in their 2025 annual report that Outsurance had the lowest overturned ratio of complaints received. The question is, are you with the insurer that treats their clients the fairest? Outsurance delivers when it's time to claim. So why don't you switch for peace of mind? Call 0860 60,000 or visit outsurance.co.za today. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
90 years of conversations, recaptured, relived, and projected. SAfm.
22 minutes after 7 o'clock. If you're just joining us, a very good morning to you. I am not Cathy Mohlahlana. I am Khanyi Magubane, co-hosting with Cathy today in honor of SAfm's 90th anniversary. Now, keeping in line with the interview Cathy has just done, we're staying with gang violence, and fear and uncertainty has continued to grip Westbury, southwest of Johannesburg, following another outbreak of gang violence that residents say has left several people dead. Now, residents are reporting that they've heard several gunshots during the night, while disturbing videos circulating on social media appear to show the bodies of young men at the scene. Police are yet to confirm the exact number of fatalities. Now, to hear how residents are coping, what is driving the violence, and what communities are calling for from the police and the government, we are joined by our guest, Bishop Dalton Adams, who is Westbury's community activist and community band spiritual leader. A very good morning to you, Bishop Dalton.
Good morning, Khanyi, and to the SAfm listeners this morning.
Can you just start and paint a picture for us of the past 48 hours or so in the Westbury area? What has been happening?
I've been growing up in Westbury. I am 64 years old. I have seen waves and seasons and levels of violence and gang fighting over the years. But what I saw in the last 48 hours made my hair raise on my head, the little that I have, because I saw that Uzi machine guns was actually used. I might be slightly off, but it's like a machine gun that shoots 60, 70 bullets at a time. I'm not an expert in guns, but the gunfire that went off for long periods of time in the middle of dense populated flats. Children running helter-skelter, mothers are screaming for their children. It was totally horrific, I must be honest with you, which resulted in deaths. And we have not confirmed the amount of deaths. I tried to get it from the police station because she cannot, as a member of provincial legislature, chair of chairs, I cannot also make statements if I have not verified it. But a few people, according to the community, 5 people were killed. According to the police, 3. But they will have to sort that out. So what happened was there was a killing that happened on Friday. Mm-hmm. And it seems like that killing that had 2 two people. And what it's a retaliation. Now, this retaliation has gone on for a long time. We have this vengeance in our community, driven by people who want to take revenge, that your father was killed by those people, your uncle, your brother, and it's been perpetuated by trying to heal by killing other people, which we as spiritual leaders in the community, yesterday, not only yesterday, but for the longest time, Khanyi, we have tried to get our people involved in terms of healing and dealing with trauma and counseling, but it's deep-seated.
Bishop,
very, very deep.
I want to hone in on a number of issues, particularly the availability of firearms to carry out this violence. Now, an Uzi machine gun is not your everyday kind of gun that you can get from the black market. You know, an Uzi is a specialized weapon that needs to be brought in, which means that there is a movement of guns into the Westbury area, into areas like Bosmont and New Clare and all of those areas that continue to be plagued by gun violence. Who is bringing these guns into the community?
I wish I knew, but there is massive speculation which I cannot say over the air. But let me tell you, you're 100% correct that guns are being brought into the communities as if it is an orchestrated attempt for annihilation of these young colored men. Before 1994, we know the history that guns were brought into the Western Cape. It seems like that kind of trend has not stopped. It is related closely to drug trade and to the cartels and whatever they are doing in our communities, which becomes havens for them to actually do their trade. So we are saying that it's horrifying, it's worrying, that these guns are coming into our community and these guns are being used now. We have never seen that. I have never seen that happen in my entire life.
Bishop, let's talk about the presence of law enforcement. And very quickly, just from where you're standing, what is driving the violence, and has the police been, in your opinion, effective in helping the communities feel safer? Or do you feel like there is a sense of collusion between gangsters, police, and those who are meant to keep the community safe?
Being in the Gauteng Provincial, I went in to Gauteng Provincial Legislature elected in 2019. I thought that if I go in there, I'll be able to shift and move premiers and MECs and portfolio committees and security clusters because I'm there in the corridors with them. Wow, no. It's not even that is assisting our people. Let me say this categorically. Police are not effective in the communities where this gun violence is taking place. There is collusion. There is working together in cahoots with these gangsters and drug lords. Let me tell you that. I don't know to what extent it is, but there is. I can say that for sure. So our communities are feeling let down. And for years, Khanyi, there have been distrust that has been breeding between the community and the police. They are just not coming. I've spoken yesterday at length with the provincial commissioner. I am saying to him, please, you have to come and ring fence a small area like Westbury and New Clare. 1.03 kilometers in circumference, Khanyi. It can't be.
Bishop, I'm going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us, Bishop Dalton Adams, Westbury community activist and community band leader, telling us what's happening, bringing the latest from Westbury, just around the corner from the SABC. Handing back over to Cathy Mohlahlana.
Yeah, you know, Khanyi, it is such a concerning state of affairs, and we'll stay with the story throughout the week. Let's just quickly turn our focus to this now. Suleiman Karim failed to appear before the Madlanga Commission again. Justice Madlanga ordering criminal charges and declaring that this is now the end of the road. Well, this morning at 9:30, Vusimuzi Cathy Mohlahlana is expected to take the stand under subpoena for 2 days of evidence. Karen Moore is with News 24, joins us on the line. Karen, any chances that Mohlahlana was watching what Karim's lawyers did and is thinking, maybe I can also get away with not having to appear, at least not for now?
Well, I think he was also watching what Andrea Johnson did, the former head of IDAC, who said she didn't want to answer questions about sending the contents, allegedly sending, I don't think it's in dispute because she hasn't disputed, the contents of an assault docket to crime intelligence top cop Feroz Khan. And she said, look, there's a docket before the MPA on this issue. I have a right against self-incrimination under the Constitution and in terms of the Commissions Act, and I'm choosing to exercise it. And in that scenario, the Commission accepted it. They didn't put every question to her. And that was in circumstances, Cathy, where there isn't a case and a prosecution pending. In Mohlahlan's case, he's on trial for the Medicare contract that forms the basis of the Madlanga Commission's investigation. So I think that there is a very small chance that he is actually going to testify.
So effectively, you're seeing even greater pushback or expecting greater pushback from Mohlahlana's lawyers this morning, given what some of the witnesses have already done.
Absolutely. And remember, Cathy, the possibility, the worst case scenario for him is that he faces potential prosecution under, for potential contempt of the commission. That's a 6-month sentence and a fine versus, a 15-year sentence for corruption. There is no way, and I mean, we know this from his lawyer because she's previously, Annalene van der Heever has previously said that. There's no way that he's going to agree to answer questions that he feels potentially incriminate him in corruption that he is currently on trial for.
A credibility issue for the Commission now with these witnesses that are so integral to its investigations?
Well, it's not a credibility issue because what they're essentially doing is they're bending over backwards to give these incriminated individuals the chance to provide a version to the Commission. This is an Aldi Ultram Partem issue. If, for instance, procedurally they weren't given that opportunity, it would undermine the Commission's findings. But in circumstances where you have the overwhelming level of WhatsApp evidence, you have the testimony of people like Fani and Nkosi, Robert Shabiri and others already, and even to some degree Shadrach Sabir in terms of his failure to address some of the very incriminating testimony against him. Mohlahlana's answer, there's nothing that he can say that at this point I would argue could exonerate him from the very damaging evidence that has emerged. For the Commission, it's really about giving him the opportunity, giving Andrea Johnson the opportunity, giving Suleiman Karim the opportunity to address those allegations. If they choose not to do that, and Andrea Johnson acknowledged it, they do it at their own risk, and they do it at the very, very real possibility that adverse findings are going to be made against them.
Karen Moore will leave it there. So what will happen then at 9:30? We're going to have to wait and see. Let's take you to the headlines. I'm back with Khanyi and more.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, SADC heads of state and government are gathering at the Durban ICC this morning. Among the key issues on the agenda is migration, with leaders expected to discuss its impact on the region. Zambia's government says security forces have seized weapons and arrested 11 people linked to an alleged insurrection plot. And the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry will hear the testimony of alleged cartel kingpin Vuzimuzikat Matlala when it resumes this morning. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. A reminder, if you're driving out of Pretoria for flight connections using R21, it's quite a heavy backlog coming through towards St George's. It's a broken down truck near the hotel, and that's pushing a heavy queue right back to Nel Mapier's Drive. Joburg's Mike 1 from Boyston's right the way through to a crash at Corlett Drive. That's heavy on your way through to Sandton today. And a crash on the N3 North linked to the N12 East inside Galuli's. That queue starts right back at the Elands interchange. N1, multiple breakdowns before Deep Cliff interchange. Very heavy on that run up from the El Dorado Park side. This morning, queues to the N12 Potchefstroom Highway. Durban side, the N2 North slow between Munzamtoti and Prospecton. More queues from the M7 to Westwood Mall. More queues going up the N2 further up between Kwamashu and a crash near Gateway. 3 queues to work to there on your way through towards the airport. M13 queuing from Hillcrest down to the top of Fields Hill this morning. And Cape Town busy on the highways. The M3 queuing from Constantia up towards Paradise Road. N1 inbound heavy from Belleville to Sable Road. And there's a backlog on the R300 to work through from Cales River up towards the N1 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
We're coming in slightly late. It's 7:35. Zai Khan, good morning. A beaming Zai Khan, I must say. Orlando Pirates. Let me say this with the right excitement in my voice, just so that Zai can be happy. Orlando Pirates. They start the week on top of the Betway Premiership. Can't even pretend.
It's amazing what a weekend can do, Cathy. Some bragging rights, yes, have been unleashed this morning. We have got some exciting news if you're a Pirate supporter. Yeah, you start the new week at the top of the Betway Premiership. You had a commanding 3-0 victory over Chippa United in Durban. We also bring you some other action where TS Galaxy and Golden Arrows rounded off the weekend with a goalless draw. And we have Cameroon. They are the new queens of the African football. The indomitable Lionesses beat surprise finalist Malawi 3-1 in Rabat to win the Women's Africa Cup of Nations for the first time. And we also have Arsenal. They have fired an early warning to their Premier League rivals, the English champions, thrashing Manchester City 3-0. And that was in the Community Shield. Manager Mikel Arteta.
Because we want to go through it again, the desire comes that I want to live that moment again. I want to live other moments even bigger than them. And we know what it's going to take. We know the difficulty of the task. That's why we never done it in this football club, to win it again. So we know that it's going to demand something special, and we are ready for it.
And finally, rugby. The All Blacks believe they'll have to be far more clinical when they face the Springboks in the opening test at Ellis Park come Saturday. New Zealand assistant coach Mike Blair says opportunities will be limited against the world champions, making decisions and execution as well. Now, despite that, the All Blacks insist they won't abandon their attacking style as they look to draw first blood in the 4-test series. That's your sport. We'll tackle more top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Market Brief with Ndauleng Lechela on SAFM.
It's 7:37. You're still tuned into the national briefing. Ndauleng, you couldn't just let us start our Monday easy. You have to tell us about yet another looming price increase. How much more can we take?
That's the big question, right? How much more can we take? We are so squeezed as consumers here in South Africa, but it's not looking good, not at all. According to the mid-month data from the Central Energy Fund, it's showing a sharp under recovery, particularly for diesel. Now, petrol is currently showing increases of between 63 and 74 cents a litre, while diesel is pointing to hikes of up to 2 Rand 89 cents. That would add to the more than 5 Rand a litre already added to petrol and over 8 Rand to diesel since the conflict in the Gulf began. Now, diesel is especially important for the wider economy because it powers much of the country's transport, logistics, and agricultural activity, meaning higher costs could feed through to businesses and consumers. Of course, that has been the South African Reserve Bank's biggest concern when it comes to adjusting monetary policy. Of course, those inflationary pressures and the secondary effects. On a slightly brighter note, though, a stronger rand continues to offer some relief. In other news, government is stepping up efforts to protect the fruit industry, particularly fruit exports, after adverse weather and operational problems at the port of Cape Town, which caused delays and losses last season. Now, the stakes are high as South Africa is one of the world's major fresh fruit exporters, with data out of the Agricultural Business Chamber saying that agri-exports reached a record $15.1 billion last year. Now, this season, Transnet is reorganizing Steve Door Leave, bringing in workers from other ports and increasing rail capacity so that more fruit can be moved when weather conditions allow. Government is also bringing producers, logistics firms and shipping lines together to coordinate the wider supply chain and prevent port disruptions from hitting exports. Shifting to equities, stateside futures are pointing to a fairly steady open, with investors watching for the Fed minutes out on Wednesday for clues on the path of interest rates. Then over in Asia, markets are mostly higher, with tech shares helping sentiment despite slowing Japanese growth. Now that sets up a cautiously positive start for the JSE, although elevated oil prices remain a risk to sentiment. Here at home, the focus also turns to inflation data, with consumer prices having accelerated to 5% in June. Economists expect a slowdown in the July print, but say this would be temporary as energy markets remain volatile. We will get that print on Wednesday morning. Now ahead of it, the rand is steady. It's at 16.17 to the dollar, 21.91 to the pound, and 18.73 to the euro. I'll leave it there for now and hand over to Cathy for the business tip of the day.
Let's get into our F&B business tip for today. Women's Month is an opportunity to recognize the important role women play across South Africa's economy, including in sectors that have traditionally seen lower levels of female participation. Agriculture remains one of the country's most important industries, supporting food security, employment and rural development. As the sector continues to evolve, there's growing recognition that creating opportunities for more women to participate in, lead and own agricultural businesses can strengthen the industry's future. Diverse perspectives, skills and experiences can help drive innovation, resilience and long-term growth in any sector. So this week, consider what inclusive growth means in your own industry and how greater participation can help create stronger businesses and more sustainable outcomes. On Wednesday, we'll explore why agricultural transformation matters now more than ever and what it means for the sector's future.
This is what progress sounds like. At South African Airways, we've added more aircraft to the runway, increased our flights from just over 1,000 in 2021 to over 24,000 last year. And we continue to add more destinations and routes. It's steady progress over time. We know there's still work to do, but every day we're building something stronger. An airline that shares the resilience of the country it carries. South African Airways. Book your next flight at flysaa.com today.
Deciding to send that text without proofreading first may cost you some embarrassment, but deciding to stay with your car insurance could be costing you thousands of rands in savings a year. With Outsurance, 54-year-old Yaku saves an amazing 282 rand a month on his 2025 Suzuki Swift. Switch to Outsurance. You too could be one quote away from having more money in your pocket every month. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
Reality check on the National Briefing.
All right, it's 7:43. We're starting a brand new week in as far as our reality check. Yes, Khanyi Magubane is still in studio with me. You're going to be hearing more of her as we get to about 7:50 and start bringing in your calls. But remember, the reality check at its core exists to help us pause, reflect, and think seriously about the state of South Africa. Not just what is happening, but why it's happening. What is it costing us and what can we do to change it? The segment is there to help us sharpen our thinking and ask what practical steps are needed to build the South Africa that we want. Our next guest is a South African diversity specialist, educational psychologist, author, academic, whose voice is certainly not new to South Africa and the discourse in our country. Terry Oakley-Smith, Managing Director and Founder of Diversity. Terry, a very good morning to you. Long time. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Cathy, and I should say congratulations for 90 years of broadcasting.
And also tell you that I'm slightly apprehensive about speaking to Khanyi Magubane, who is such a legend in her own right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Terry.
Thanks for that, Terry. So you've chosen the theme, the National Reconciliation Project. And we'll start off with, what is reconciliation? Why do we need it?
Well, I think every South African knows that we needed to have some form of reconciliation after the years of apartheid, particularly, and before then as well. But I feel that in South Africa, we've had trouble actually making this work. And in my work, which, as you say, is about diversity, equity, inclusion, and so on, one can see that South Africans of different races really haven't reconciled, in that there are very few social relationships between them and very little understanding. Very few white people speak any African languages, so I think we have a lot of work still to do. But reconciliation, when you really think about it, it means restoring a relationship that's been broken. Or you could say bringing people back into a better relationship after conflict or harm or division. And that's exactly what was attempted to do after apartheid, when Nelson Mandela came to power and we had the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And some of your older listeners may remember watching the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. It was extremely painful for many of us, Cathy, seeing men and women standing up, talking about how their sons and daughters had been lost. These were black South Africans who had gone to join the ANC or who'd been taken prisoner by the apartheid police, and they simply didn't know what had happened to them, or eventually some of them managed to get their remains back to bury. And if we look at South Africa today, if we look at the terrible unemployment, Cathy, we heard last week only that it's worse again, if that's even possible. And if one thinks of the youth of South Africa who are so badly unemployed. And then there's the poverty. I know the government has implemented the SASSA grant, though how people are supposed to live on 350 Rand a month, I do not know. So what with poverty and unemployment, South Africa has a long way to go for reconciliation. It's not the same as forgiveness. People often think that it is, especially people who have a Christian religion, a Catholic religion. They think that, if they go to confession and confess to the priest and they say a penance, then they will be forgiven and there will be reconciliation. But it doesn't work like that. You can forgive somebody on your own, but reconciliation demands that both parties forgive one another and agree to work together. And I think that's what's been missing in South Africa. And it's also not the same as forgetting. We're very quick in South Africa to say, let's put the past behind us. Almost to say, let's forget this thing happened. Look, the Springboks beat the All Blacks last week. We're all together on this. We're a nation that cares. But genuine reconciliation depends on acknowledging what happened, not pretending it didn't. And that's why the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was built around testimony, people telling other South Africans and telling the Truth and Reconciliation Commission what actually happened. And the theory behind that, Cathy, and your guest, is that healing needed truth as a foundation, not a substitute for it. So it's not the same as agreement. Two people can reconcile without agreeing on everything. But reconciliation, and this is what we need in South Africa, is about being able to coexist, to work together, and treat each other with dignity, despite real differences. It's not about erasing those differences. I think one of the major problems with reconciliation, or with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, was that true reconciliation also demands reparation. And the reparations that were decided at the Truth Commission were financial reparations for the people who were found to have been aggrieved, lost sons and daughters, been terribly damaged by it. But in fact, these reparations never materialized, or certainly not at the extent that they were supposed to. So people who had come forward to the Commission, broken our hearts watching them, broken their own hearts retelling their stories, did not get the reparations they were meant to. There was talk that there would be a wealth tax, that those among us who are more wealthy than others, and obviously in a country like South Africa, those would be white South Africans, agreed that there would be a wealth tax and that we would be taxed as wealthy people, as white people particularly, in order to pay back to these people that had lost sons, daughters, everything. But that, Cathy, as you know, and as Khanyi knows, never happened. So more broadly, Reconciliation Day, which we have on December the 16th, is supposed to mark reconciliation. But we can ask ourselves, what kind of reconciliation have we really had? And I think it's very lacking, Cathy. I know that even some South Africans have taken to calling it Braai Day, and use it as a day to celebrate braaiing and have braais. And how that can possibly stand up against mothers and fathers who lost sons and daughters, who to this day don't know where they are or where their remains are buried. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I think we have a lot of work to do, Cathy, building up to Reconciliation Day and making it something substantial and meaningful. I mean, if we think even of land, 72% of farmland in South Africa belongs to us as whites, and we only make up between 6 and 9% of the population. So we can say that 93% of the population doesn't have farmland, and South Africa is a great farming nation. So I don't want to depress you too much, Cathy and Khanyi, and all the listeners who are listening today, but I really think we have an awful lot to do. Reparation, I know there's a committee at the moment working on that. Why has that never happened? And I hope that they will bring some justice and some reparations to the people who lost everything. And I think later in further episodes of this week, I'm going to talk to you about what we can do. We as ordinary South Africans, we maybe who weren't involved in the Truth Commission, what can we do to bring reconciliation to our country?
Terry Oakley-Smith, she's managing director and founder of Diversity. So some key takeaways there. She says for reconciliation to truly happen, both parties, emphasis on both parties must forgive and agree to work together. Healing needs truth as a foundation, and when we look at it as a society, what kind of reconciliation can we say we have when some of these things are yet to be fulfilled? It's part of the conversation that we will have as we take your calls.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Still slow on the R21, approaching St George's Hotel, coming out of Pretoria on the way to the airport after an earlier breaking down truck obstruction there. N1 south out of Pretoria, not too bad this morning. A little bit of traffic between Linwood and Botha Avenue, but moving okay, better than it could be. The N1 coming in from Crossmere, Protea Glen and Eldorado Park, very heavy backlogs into Deepcliff. There are multiple breakdowns on that run up into the Deepcliff interchange this morning. And a crash on the N3, ramp to the N12 east at Galilees, northbound from Germiston, southbound from Edenvale, back backing up, and the crash on the Mike at Melrose by Corlett Drive, slowing traffic this morning from as far back as Boysons. If you're on your way to Sandton, give yourself plenty of time to get through. Durban, a big crash scene. Komarshu Highway, Chris Hani at the N2. That's causing delays coming out of Komarshu, going up on Chris Hani towards the N2, and it's badly impacting traffic wanting to come off the N2 north at that Komarshu Highway off-ramp. There's also a breakdown on the N2 as well there, so very heavy. If you're heading up from Umgena Road, you'll be in that traffic pretty much straight away. Otherwise, a little bit of traffic at Cliffdale, Key Ridge this morning on your way to Durban, and a breakdown between Ashburton and Market Road, causing delays going into Pietermaritzburg. Cape Town, R300 from Kales River up towards the N1 highway. That's pretty sluggish. There is a crash on the N1 into town just by the M7 exit, and that's pushing queues back towards Plattercliff Hill. And coming in from the south, Constantia, all the way up Weinberg Hill into Bishop's Court, and then right through to Hospital Bend. Basically, traffic between Constantia Main Road and the Hospital Bend Junction. M5 worth a mention as well. It's a heavy one from Southfield right through to Barclay Road in the Maitland area. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Durban, the promenade is calling and the purple wave is taking over the East Coast. It's time to lace up for the Hollywood Bets Durban 10-kilometer road race on Sunday, 30 August. The race covers the beautiful tour of the city, combining urban streets, scenic coastal roads, and stunning beachfront stretches with views of the Indian Ocean. Catch all the action live on SABC2 and SABC Plus from 7 a.m. on Sunday, 30th of August. The Hollywood Bets Durban 10-kilometer road race, brought to you by SABC Sports.
Yo, listen, casual day, yo, one beat, one drum, hear the sound, let the rhythm move around, beat is one, rhythm matters, sticker on, bring your beats, Friday, 4 September, hit the streets, join the cause, it's casual day, .co.za, beats is one.
This is a SABC supported initiative.
Call SAfm now on 086 000 2032.
7:57, you're still tuned into the national briefing. I'm going to be taking your calls. Remember the numbers to dial this morning, 086 000 2032 on the WhatsApp voice note line. Send those messages through to 0614 104 107. Sine says, morning Cathy, we need more honest people in the country. Reconciliation requires so much honesty. What an amazing guest you have this weekend. Khanyi, you also wanted to reflect on what Terry has shared this morning.
Absolutely, and in particular to the TRC. We know that the TRC recommendation cases have been reopened, and they are currently active again in terms of looking at the recommendations of the final reports, of the TRC. One thing that Terry mentioned is that for reconciliation to happen, it needs truth. And for me, another layer of that is disclosure. Because truth and disclosure sound like they're the same thing, but it's not. Truth is you admitting that, yes, I did that, I did this. But disclosure is you saying, this is what I've done. And unfortunately, between the TRC and, the old apartheid government, there were some clandestine agreements that were done that some issues would not be brought to the, commission. In my work that I just recently finished in my master's degree, I went into some of those areas and I called up the transcripts and I looked, particularly at Winnie Madikizela Mandela, because that's what my master's was on. And there was a particular time when Dumisani Ntsebeza, who was the lawyer of Winnie Madikizela Mandela, put it to two people who were on the stand that what were some of the stories that you wrote about Winnie Madikizela Mandela that were untrue? Who were the journalists that we used? Who were colluding with the state and Stratcom and all those things? And the person on the stand looked at Borrain and said, but Borrain, we agreed that we are not going to disclose this information. And Dumisani Ntsebeza said, but then what is the point of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission if disclosure is not sitting at the heart of it? And so for me, it compromises the quality of reconciliation in the absence of full and true disclosure. And that is what I feel we still need.
She sounds like a master's candidate, huh? And she's done with her master's. So very soon she'll be Dr. Magubane. If you're not careful, then next time you check. Let me bring in Solomon in Limpopo. Good morning, Solomon.
Hey, good morning, SAFM 90th.
Yes.
Happy day with Magubane, Khanyi.
Yes.
Khanyi, I'm telling you, reconciliation which will be done between you and me and the masses. Your program on Sunday, I'm telling you, you left us. We were hearing music, you were praying for people, you know, bringing a request to you. Hi, Khanyi. It was a honeymoon for the Christian there in your program.
Wow.
So you want to be reconciled with Khanyi on a Sunday, hey?
He's saying there needs to be reconciliation.
Back to that program.
I love it, Solomon. I love it. Solomon, we're going to have to leave it there. I don't want to get into trouble with the news desk. Remember, Khanyi is with us after 8, literally for all of the hour she's here. We're going to deepen our conversation with her. For now, though, let me hand you over to Ann Musa on the news desk.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
In our top stories, SADC leaders gather in Durban and fifth suspect to appear in court over DA Chief Whip's murder. Good morning. SADC heads of state and government are gathering at the Durban ICC this morning. Among the key issues on the agenda is migration, with leaders expected to discuss its impact on the region. South Africa proposed that the matter be engaged at the highest level. Addressing the SADC organ Troika on politics, defence and security, Malawi's second Vice President Enoch Chihana says member countries should also work together to ensure the stability of the region.
Consolidation of democracy is critical for maintenance of peace and security in our region. We must strengthen capacity of election observation mechanisms and to ensure that adequate resources are provided to this preventive mechanism in our region's peace architecture. Peace and stability in our region are indispensable.
Zambia's government says security forces have seized weapons and arrested 11 people linked to an alleged insurrection plot. Authorities say the arrests were made during a raid in Osaka, where main opposition presidential candidate Brian Mundubile was reportedly found at the scene. The BBC's Dingindaba Jonah Buyoha reports.
Zambia's main opposition candidate in the August 13 election, Brian Mundubile, has been linked by the government to a location where security forces seized high-grade military weapons. Mundubile, who trails President Hakainde Hichilema in the partial results, has previously claimed victory from his own parallel count and alleged irregularities. Authorities have denied those claims. Hichilema currently leads with nearly 59% of the votes declared so far. Investigations continue.
Back home, the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry will hear the testimony of alleged cartel kingpin Vusimuzi Cathy Mohlahlana when it resumes this morning. Mohlahlana is expected to spend today and tomorrow on the witness stand. His appearance has been brought forward after he had been scheduled to appear on the 1st of next month. Sibahle Mota reports.
The Madlanga Commission, which has been running for close to a year, is tasked with investigating allegations of criminal infiltration within law enforcement agencies. At the center of the Commission's investigation is attempted murder accused Vusimuzi Cathy Mohlahlana, who was awarded the multi-million rand South African Police Service Medicare 24 tender. Mohlahlana is expected to face questions about the awarding of the tender, his alleged links to criminal networks, and other evidence placed before the Commission.
The fifth suspect arrested in connection with the murder of Umgeni Municipality DA Chief Whip Nhlalayenza Ndlovu is expected to make his first court appearance today. The 44-year-old suspect will appear in the Howick Magistrates Court. He was arrested by the KwaZulu-Natal Political Killings Task Team on Saturday. Ndlovu was shot dead at his home in 2023. Police have identified Chief Simphiwe Zuma of the Ngqamalala Tribal Authority as the alleged mastermind. He remains in custody after being denied bail twice. 2 other accused have pleaded guilty. Police say investigations are ongoing. Secretary-General of the MK Party and Member of Parliament Sibonelo Nomvalo has called on people of the Eastern Cape to reject political parties that do not serve their interest. Nomvalo, together with the party leadership, accompanied party leader Jacob Zuma on his week-long visit to various traditional kingdoms in the OR Tambo district. Nomvalo elaborates on the visit.
We want to conscientize the people of the Eastern Cape that they shouldn't be viewed as people who are indoctrinated into a party which does not serve their interest. The Eastern Cape is the most underprivileged province in the country, but the people will continue to vote for the ANC. What does that mean? It means political parties are not doing enough political work on the ground to conscientize the people of the Eastern Cape that enough is enough. The time for an alternative voice now for the people of the Eastern Cape has come, and that alternative voice is the MK Party.
Recapping the top stories, SADC heads of state and government are gathering at the Durban ICC this morning. Among the key issues on the agenda is migration, with leaders expected to discuss its impact on the region. For SAfm News, I am Anne Musa.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Deciding not to make a grocery shopping list may cost you an extra trip, but deciding to stay with your car insurance could be costing you thousands of rands in savings a year. With Outsurance, 37-year-old Lerato saves a whopping 599 Rand a month on her 2026 Kia Sonet. Switch to Outsurance. You could be one quote away from having more money in your pocket every month. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you in your SAfm Sports headlines. Let's start with rugby. Coach Rassie Erasmus faces a huge selection call ahead of Saturday's opening test against the All Blacks. And we also bring you news from hockey as we have the South African team. They went down to Spain, so South Africa stumbling at the Hockey World Cup opener. Details around 8:30.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Out of Pretoria to the airport, just confirming that R21 obstruction by St George's has been cleared and the backlog has made its way through. Straight up through central Joburg, heavy today on your way to Sand, had a crash up by Caller Drive, backlogging still all the way through to the Boysons area. N12 is under some pressure from Benoni through Boksburg, and the M1 North with at least 2 breakdowns still in place before Diepkloof interchange, heavy on the run up through from Eldorado Park today. A lot of traffic coming south in Pretoria, N1 from Montana down towards the N4, and then really Atterbury down to around Borta Avenue and Centurion. Lots of traffic on the M1 coming south today. Durban, a crash on Komashu Highway North Coast Road around the N2. That's really heavily backed up. There is an impact on the N2 running north to try and get off at Komashu as well. N2 backlogs from Inanda roadside. Crash on the M4 near Riverside Road. That's around Blue Lagoon. So from Madlanga, some extra delays as you head down towards central Durban. Cliffdale Key Ridge, Durban bounds busy. Breakdown before Market Road, very heavy pile-up from Ashburton on your way to Pietermaritzburg this morning. Cape Town, the collision N1 into town at the N7. That's slow from Plattercliff Hill. M3 from Constantia all the way through to Hospital Bend, really busy. And if you're driving into Stellenbosch, heavy pressure. R44 North and the R304. Both those routes into central Stellenbosch really under high volume conditions as well. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Briefing on SAfm. Clarity, context, and conversation. This is where the day begins with Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
It's 9 after 8 o'clock. You're tuned into the National Briefing. A very good morning to you. I'm Cathy Mohlahlana as we bring you clarity, context, and conversation. Remember, it's our 90th birthday. SAFM is 90 years old, and we're bringing you some of the voices of the station. So here on the morning show, we started it off with Tim Modise. We've had Stephen Grootes. We've had John Pullman, and today it's Khanyi Magubane's turn. We'll be in conversation with her, turning the spotlight on the work that she's done. Can you believe it? She was on air on SAFM for 13 years.
Absolutely.
Do you realize that there was a child who started schooling, ended schooling, all while you were on air on this platform?
And they are now 20 years. Because it's been 7 years since I left in 2019. So I've raised an entire adult, guys.
Well, we'll have more of that conversation with Khanyi. She's not going anywhere. Of course, we'll also be taking your calls in this hour. We'll talk reconciliation, soldiers on our country streets, and the doctors sitting at home. You've got your pick. And remember, you can add any other story you want to that. I think we should talk about the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, right? What happens if Cat Madlala does as Karen is very much suspecting, anticipating he may, right? So we'll keep a close eye on those developments. And then on Built in Mzansi, we'll end off the show speaking to a professor who teaches machines to think like ant colonies, but he's pointing them to South African problems and saying that they must solve our problems the way ants solve their own problems. We'll find out exactly how he is doing that. All of that coming up on the show in the next hour.
Cutting costs means more money for your business. Switch to OUTsurance Business Insurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Here's Marshall from Bow Electrical.
I was with my other insurance for many years and then I switched to OUTsurance Business Insurance. It was a one quick call. They give me a great cover and a great price. Give them a call. You have nothing to lose. I wish I have switched sooner.
Get a quote to switch and save today. Visit outsurance.co.za or call 0800 60,000. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
Mavis, I wonder if I should sell my car. I'm not sure where to go.
Wanna sell your car, but don't know what to do. You don't have to go far, we come to you. If you're rolling on a 1.5 or a Lacquer 2.2, doesn't matter what you drive, we buy cars once you.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
You are listening to the National Briefing with Cathy Mohlahlana.
You're listening to the National Briefing. It's 12 after 8 o'clock. So this morning, the woman sitting next to me arrived here at SAFM in 2006 as a producer. She moved or worked her way up the ranks and later would stay on air for 13 years. Living Sounds, Sound Awake, the Friday edition, Art Matters. These are all some of the shows that she's anchored before. She, of course, was a court reporter before she went behind the microphone. Right now, she is a documentary and filmmaker. She is an author. She was a Mail and Guardian top 200 young South African and a Mandela Washington Fellow. So, Khanyi, that's, your CV is like growing longer and longer by the day.
A Mandela Washington Fellow like who?
This is not about me, it's about you. That is actually where Khanyi Magubane and I met. We were on the fellowship. What an awesome time we had. But, let's talk about those early years. Yeah. You walking into this building 2006, as you were saying earlier, that's literally 20 years ago.
Wow, I can hardly believe that it's been 20 years. And I reflect on my journey with such fondness, right? I mean, how I got to come to SAFM is a story in itself. I had great aspirations of going on a sabbatical and writing a book, right? And 6 months after that, the savings dried up. I reached out to my friend Faith Daniels. Faith, I need a job. And she's like, okay, I'm at SAfm. Let me speak to somebody and see what I can do. So she brought me on as her assistant producer. She was producing the late Xolani Gwala at the time. So then I came in and I started being a producer on Morning Talk, right? But what Faith didn't tell me is that she's going to leave me there, right? Because I think a month after I arrived, Faith moved to Afternoon Talk with the late Thabiso Sikwane. And so when I started as a producer, Xolani and I used to fight all the time. As you know, you and your producers fight all the time, right? And
me and my producers? Never.
So I think one of the key things that used to make us butt heads, right, is the fact that, and I hope my dear friend Faith is listening, she used to script him to the point of scripting his dialogue, his in points, his out points. And I came in and I'm like, no, Xolani, you need your own thoughts, you need your own words. I'm not going to script dialogue for you. I'm going to put shows, but no dialogue. And in many ways, it unsettled him because it was a sink or swim, because he's coming from a place of comfort, right? But he grew phenomenally, you know, when I put him on the deep end of the show. But my heart had always been behind the microphone. I've always known that that's where I'm called to. Just my entire career before coming to SABC, my journey started at Talk Radio 702. It took me to YFM, where I was a primetime news anchor, reporter. So by the time I came to SAfm, I already had quite a full career, right? But I needed a job, you know, so I wasn't particularly choosy at the time. However, the more I settled in, the more my purpose and the desire started coming. And our programs manager, Mike Roberts, at the time, I casually went to him and said, Mike, I would love an opportunity to go on air if there's anything available. And Mike's like, well, you know, there is a Sunday slot that's kind of not doing anything at the moment. If you could come in and do something with it, you know, then I could give it to you.
Khanyi, I would say that coming in as a producer is an advantage in and of itself.
Sure.
Why? Because you get to study the audience, you get to learn the audience, you get to understand what do SAfm listeners like, what don't they like. How do you think that actually helped you to understand this platform you were on and how different perhaps it was from the private media background that you started in?
It's very important because, number one, as a presenter, I was stricter with my producers, right? And I demanded more because I understood what it takes to put together a show. You know, when I walk into a studio and I lay out all the information and I guide the presenter from the beginning to the end. You know, if they were slacking, I knew, because I knew when I was slacking. But also it helped me to understand what content works and doesn't work. It helped me to shape the production behind the scenes. It helped me to be more relevant in content meetings, you know. And I think that being a producer is often a thankless job because people don't see the face. They hear Cathy Mohlahlana, but they don't know who are the people that are putting the stories together, that are securing the guests, that are having sleepless nights when a guest cancels at 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. and they're supposed to go on air in the morning. There's somebody who carries that, and I carried that for a long time. So it also helped me to have a greater respect for my colleagues who are behind the scenes, whereas perhaps if I was just coming in as a presenter, I would be vain and all about myself, you know, and maybe forget that there's someone who actually helps me sound good.
Khanyi, you are so broad in your coverage of not only events but of the South African story. So on the one hand, you were telling us about your master's dissertation. So you are a political scholar. On the other, we saw you drive arts programming on this very platform. You are a filmmaker, documentary maker. How many things are going on in your head, ma'am?
You know, all of the things that you're talking about, I see them as tools that I have collected and they're sitting in my basket.
Mhm.
You know, there's a saying that a person can be a jack of all trades and a master of none. I don't see myself as that. My journey has had longevity for the past 26 years because I've never pigeonholed myself. I went to study journalism and communication at the former RAU. And one thing about me is that I've always been brave. I think that's really the key thing. God has given me a brave heart to go into something I've never done before, but to know that I'm smart enough to learn how to do it.
Is it difficult to do that? And you raise such an important issue. You know, in the acting world, they call it typecasting, right? That if you've played, let's say, a lonely, abandoned character well before, you run the risk of the industry seeing you as that. So as long as there are opportunities for lonely, desperate characters, you're the first person to come to mind.
Yes.
But nobody's going to cast you as a superhero. So how difficult has it been for you to be able to exercise all of and showcase all of these aspects of who you are, given how varied they are?
I think that's the beauty of having a long career, right? Because I can tell you, between this year and that year, I was doing this. And then I moved on to that. And then I came back to this. You know, it's almost as if I've just been enjoying being in the media and communication space and playing all around it. Because when I wanted to go to university, right, I initially wanted to go to film school, right, because after was a new thing, it was very funky, and I thought, oh, that would be nice, you know, but then journalism was my second choice. And I went to AFDA, which was like a year old then, and I got the brochure. When I turned and I saw how much it cost, I put it away. I didn't even bother my mother, you know, to say I want to go to film school. So I went to study journalism, you know, at the former RAU. And in studying journalism, I got to do documentary filmmaking. So it's not things that I'm chancing. These are things that I've learned. These are things that I went to school for. These are competences that I have at a qualification level, you know, and that was also what gave me the confidence that I have gone to school for this, you know, so I can do it. And the typecasting is there. In radio, I was typecast for a long time between religion and arts and culture because those are the shows that I did. But then I was coming from a political background as a reporter. You know what I'm saying? However, I never knew what God had in mind for me when I came to SAFM, that it would have nothing to do with politics. It would have nothing to do with current affairs, but it would have everything to do with touching people on a spiritual level, on an artistic level, on a cultural level.
Sure.
And as much as those shows are sitting on the periphery of the main shows, you know, of Monday to Friday, but they built an entire career for me and gave me endless opportunities. You know, we went to the Cape Town Jazz Festival for many years where I was the anchor show that broadcast. We went to Grahamstown Arts Festival, you know, as the arts and culture show. We were there for the full 10 years. My colleague Zalma there is my witness because she knows the many nights, you know, of freezing in Grahamstown. It was actually the Makanda Film Arts Festival now. I've traveled to Switzerland, Tanzania, Zanzibar, all of these things with SAFM, with the shows that I was doing.
Sure. You see, now you're going to give Zalma ideas. She's going to remember all the fun things you used to do and think how boring her life has become. 23 after 8. I'm back with Khanyi Magubane. Let's take a quick break.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Durban is ready. Southern Africa is coming together. This August, South Africa proudly hosts the 46th SADC Summit in Durban, bringing together leaders united by a shared vision of regional cooperation, industrialization, economic integration, and sustainable development. When we work as one, trade flourishes, investment grows, jobs are created, and families enjoy opportunities. The 46th SADC Summit, one region, one people, one vision, shared prosperity.
Your business needs an upgraded digital X-ray sensor, but do you have the cash to fund it? Before you compromise on the core items your business needs, have you looked at saving on your business insurance? Switch to Outsurance Business Insurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. For general medical practices, dentistries, physiotherapies and all other businesses, visit outsurance.co.za today or call 08 600 60,000. Licensed insurer and FSP, T's, C's and information online.
From the voices that shaped our past to the conversations defining our future, SAfm celebrates 90 years.
All right, we're continuing the conversation with Khanyi Magubane, one of the voices of the station. 13 years she spent on SAfm. Khotso, you're calling from Maluti Apofong. Good morning.
Goeiemôre Cathy Mohlahlana. Hoe gaan dit aus Cathy en aus Khanyi and Mrs. Morning and Mrs. Early Morning?
Good morning. Thank you so much to you, Khotso.
Yes, aus Khanyi. Cathy, it will be wrong for us as a people of Free State not to come out and say thank you to the SADC and the SAfm to recognize us here at the Free State. Cathy, we have been on the serious problem that is facing here in Free State. There was an agent of the SADC. That agent was deployed by the ANC to work at the SADC to mislead the people of Free State by the service delivery, but using the SADC. But after we get into the SAfm, we managed to neutralize the agent of the ANC here in Free State. The power of the SAfm here in Free State, Cathy, it's so amazing. If
Khotso,
you don't believe me,
when did all of this happen?
It was happened, I think, it was 30 years or 28 years back. Even today, that agent of the SADC is still existing, misleading the people of Free State about the ANC. That is why last we see the power of the SAfm in Free State.
Okay. Okay, Khotso, yeah, look, I won't lie, Khotso, I have no idea what you are talking about, but I've put him through back to our producers. Maybe they can get a better hang of things. Simpiwe, you're in Richards Bay. You want to talk about gangsterism?
Morning, Cathy and Ms. Magubane. Happy 90th birthday. A quick one, Cathy. In 2022, El Salvador, they declared a state of emergency on gangsterism, which led to the arrest and criminalization of a number of gangsters. I'm not saying that South Africa must copy the model as it is or adopt the model of El Salvador as it is due to its possible abuse of human rights. However, if we are facing the situation that we are facing right now, where on daily basis more than 20 young people are killed through this gangsterism, I can't stop but ask myself, why is the government, why are we not criminalizing gangsterism so that at least we can then go back to the drawing board and then give ourselves time to address it, the same way the government of El Salvador did. It's something, it's a model that is worth looking at.
You know, Simpiwe, the more that we have conversations with the former police officers that have worked in the Western Cape and we get analysis on why we're not seeing the impact of the soldiers, I think that we should probably move away from more declarations.
Yeah.
We need
a viable plan that is implemented and that is implementable. Because as long as the infrastructure that sits behind any declaration remains the same, we're going to find ourselves in the cycle where even if we declared it a national state of disaster tomorrow.
Yes, it would still continue if the root causes of it are not rooted out.
But I'm saying it's worth looking at criminalization. Those maybe if you do invite the legal gurus to look at the implications of possible criminalization of gangsterism as a thing, through passing of particular legislations, so that then we criminalize it without necessarily coming up with declarations. I think for me, as a point of action, pure criminalization of gangsterism must be the point for me.
Okay, all right. We're going to leave it there for now. Peter, in Soweto, you want to talk about the TRC? We'll take you after the latest news headlines.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, 4 suspected extortionists, one who's a police officer, have been arrested in Bellville in Cape Town. Police say 120,000 rand in cash, 4 vehicles worth 3 million rand and several cell phones have been seized. A popular traditional healer accused of killing an ANC Youth League member and 2 Metro Police officers is expected to apply for bail in the Hammersdale Magistrates Court west of Durban today. And SADC heads of state and government are gathering at the Durban ICC this morning. Among the key issues on the agenda is migration, with leaders expected to discuss its impact on the region. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Mike 1 North up towards Melrose starting to ease after that earlier crash by Caller Drive. There's now a collision on the R24 west by Eden Valley if you're coming out of the airport. That's quite a heavy delay to work through. N1, Brandberg to Sunning Hill and up through towards Allendale really via Buccleuch. Still very busy for this time of morning. Now Durban, the M4 between Belito and Umhlanga currently closed down because of VIP escorts from the north going down in towards the city. Also part of the M41 from the gateway area down towards the M4. That's closed as well. So those closures putting a lot of traffic pressure out onto the N2 and generally around the Umhlanga Rocks area. Very heavy backlogging going through there. If you're coming from Mount Edgecombe on the M41, it's heavy. The N2 south full of traffic. And then going northbound, there's a really big queue up the N2 towards the KwaMashu Highway. There's been a really big crash on the KwaMashu Highway around the N2, and that whole bridge system is jammed up, and that's why the N2 north is under pressure. Breakdown after Ashburton. Heavy queues on your way through to Pietermaritzburg this morning. And Cape Town, N1 inbound, slow from Plattekloof Hill right through to the city centre, Marine Drive, coming in through Parton Island in towards that's quite heavy, and a lot of traffic still going north on the M3 from Constantia and the M5 from Rondebosch areas. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
It's 8:32. Zai Khan is standing by. Zai Khan is going to have a great week ahead. And I've got... no, don't look at me like you don't know what I'm talking about, Zai Khan. Don't pretend. Don't pretend.
Good morning, this is Cathy. Zai Khan is a terrible loser. She is a terrible loser. Did you hear on Thursday morning? She was so sounding like the battery was, off. She was so sour that Kaizer Chiefs won and the Pirates drew. Wow, what a sour loser, Zai Khan. Thank you. Pulemo Orange Farm.
Pulemo Orange Farm. We all agree with you. We are in solidarity, so we agree.
So what now? My facial expressions are breaking news.
Guys, the fact that was your first retort tells you everything you need to know. She says, so my facial expressions are breaking news. Don't look at my face. Mm-hmm.
You guys are behaving like VAR. That's all I have to say. And nothing getting past you, eh? Anyway, I mean, he reckons I had a sour face. Well, guess what?
What's your face this morning,
Well,
Zai?
I am officially appealing that decision of his.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't have a sour face today. Tell us why your face is not sour.
We got Springboks coming up, officially.
Don't try to pull a fast one on us, Zai Khan.
The irony is I'm actually that team supporter. But anyway, I'll just tell you what I've got at the top of our bulletin. It's the countdown to the first test, and it's rugby's greatest rivalry. It's officially begun, guys. We are counting down with coach Rassie Erasmus. He's going to face some key changes ahead of the clash against the All Blacks at Ellis Park, and questions are remaining over the fitness of loosehead prop Oxen Chair and captain Siya Kolisi, while coach Erasmus must also decide who partners Ibn Etzebet in the second row. So we'll have the match day squad named come Thursday. Let's go to the Cheetahs now. They held off the Bulls in a comeback thrilling victory, 62-52. That's the scoreline for the Currie Cup clash that happened at Loftus Versfeld. The visitors looked out of sight after racing into a 47-17 half-time lead. So yeah, the Bulls fighting back with 4 late tries to set up that grandstand finish. Let's go to soccer, and it's Stellenbosch coach Gavin Hunt says the extended period between their last and next game will provide an opportunity to get his team playing the way he wants. Now, they played on Friday against Maruma Gallants. Steadies will next be in action, and that's only in 10 days' time away at Lamontville Golden Arrows.
I love to play 2 games a week, 3 games a week, but this week now can give us just a little bit of time to train and get the guy and just give me some to get back to the way I'd like to set up the team to play, which was the whole plan from the start. You know what I'm saying?
Let's go to hockey, and South Africa's Hockey World Cup campaign began, though, with a 3-1 defeat to Spain after a costly first half in Pool C. The African champions dominated last spells but couldn't find the breakthrough, leaving Spain to claim all 3 points. And finally, tennis, Iga Swiatek cruising into the third round of the Cincinnati Open. Straight sets win, while Elena Rybakina, Mira Andreeva and Coco Gauff also advance. And Aryna Sabalenka was made to work hard, saving her best for the tiebreak, but she battled through the heat to beat Australia's Talia Gibson. Here's Sabalenka.
I was super excited to play the first match. It was really incredible atmosphere in this hot, humid day, and I'm super happy I was able to close this set in straight sets. Otherwise, I don't know how I'll be able to stay strong for that long under that crazy heat.
All right, from one ace to another, John Heriker is up next with more sport around 12:30 for the National Briefing. I'm Zai Khan.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. Easy to apply, no medical examinations and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Call SAFM now on 086 000 2032.
Good morning, Captain, the brilliant team behind the scenes. I'm Donald in Rustenburg. Who will forget Living Sounds with Khanyi Magubane? Thank you very much for bringing Khanyi back. Thank you for that voice again. A happy 90th birthday to SAFM. Thanks for the voices which shaped this station from strength to strength, status to status.
Wow, Cathy, you've started. What a guest, what a guest. Good morning to you, good morning to your team. Great show always, good to hear your voice. Hey, Sissy Khanyi. Your program, you made me crazy. I went crazy, even up to now. Keep it up, don't give up. Get it? If the truth was 200 meters, keep left. Madlanga Commission. will not struggle with this Mkhosi, Kasim Kalim, Julius, it's terrible. Uncle JJ, the truck driver.
Morning, Cathy. I'm very, very glad to hear the voice of Khanyi Magubane. I used to enjoy her show on Sunday evening. In most of the time, I was driving from Polokwane to Gauteng as I was working Gauteng. So I used to enjoy her show, the gospel show, on Sunday evenings. I'm very happy to hear her voice once more again. Lala in Polokwane. Thank you.
Khanyi, how does it feel a bit like, are you tearing up?
Well, maybe.
Are these tears I see in your eyes?
Maybe something is in my eye. You know why, Cathy? Because it just reminds me of the different types of audiences that I have. There are many people who work in different provinces and visit their families on a Friday and drive back on a Sunday evening. And I had countless of listeners saying, we are with you. You took me from Polokwane to Joburg. In fact, some people would start driving at 6 p.m. to time their journey so that they could catch the show the entire time. But there was also another group of listeners that the show attracted, and that is prisoners, right? Prisoners in South Africa loved living sounds because, when we talk about prisoners, we're talking about people who've committed crimes, who are serving their time. They are sent there for rehabilitation. Some of them are hardcore criminals who never get rehabilitated, but something special happens to some of them. They find their spirituality, their faith becomes at the center, of their lives because they're in prison. They can't do anything else. And I still have a box full of letters that I got from prisoners. And I used to read them out. Zelma knows. I used to read them out because I didn't have one-on-one interactions with them. But if I received a letter from Suntumule, from Khosimampuru, from Sun City, from Lukop, you name the prisons around, they knew my birthday. I would get gifts. I would get a second letter to tell me how they were the person of the month because they heard their letter being read out, and everybody at the prison knows that a radio presenter. It was
so you had real life pen pals.
I had real.
I used to read about pen pals in, was it Drum Magazine?
Yes.
I think Drum Magazine was the one that used to feature, and I was so fascinated. But I never believed that these were really letters from prison. I thought that maybe it was just being made up.
Absolutely not. When radio is unique in the sense that it is very immediate and it's very intimate and it touches people from various parts of the world. Prisoners too, we forget about them because obviously they're the bad people who've committed the crime. But through living sounds, I managed to include them into the programming. It became inclusive, and it became something that I could have never anticipated. So when I hear these callers, it takes me back, even to how I changed the sound of the show, because gospel back then was very much I am the Lord that healeth thee, very Maranatha. And I was not on that vibe. I came in and I was like, Umo Jehovah, Evule Minyango. That's what I did.
I love it.
The introduction of traditional African gospel, Amazayoni, contemporary gospel, bringing in live gospel musicians into the show, allowing our gospel industry to breathe and have a space in a non-traditional space.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. I've got more callers on the line. So what you said about the TRC adding to our contributor for the reality check this week, that also has triggered some calls from our listeners. Peter, you're in Soweto. Good morning.
Good morning, Katie, and good morning to our guests and South African AFM listeners.
Yes.
Yes, thank you to have that woman in the studio. Katie, it was in 1990, 16 December, when I was tortured by the police. I was 15 years old, And I just heard by the fellows that I was tortured, I was fainted, but I only see myself eating tea and biscuits offered by the police. The Sowetan newspapers was invited, lawyers from the ANC who were representing TRC to come to take our statement. People were reparated because I was young and I couldn't work properly and I was concentrating on finishing my high school studies. I didn't take it this serious that people will get money. And till to date, I never got reparated. And I think if it's not twice, it's thrice that I've come into the air in SAFM concerning my case. So anyway, you said the producers will come back to me. They never came back to me. But anyway, I went into the internet and Googled TRC, and then I found some contact numbers, phoned certain people, and then there's another one who just told me he would give me the number that that person maybe will help me. He never came back to me. And I'm unemployed, Katie. And just imagine from 15 years right now how old am I? I'm over 50 years. This youth empowerment thing that they talk about from 19, it never empowered me. Because I was not active in politics.
Peter, so, you're absolutely correct. I remember your call. In fact, I was just raising it with the producers now. I am going to put you back through to them. And this time we will have an update on how exactly things are going to unfold and the work then to get you in touch with the process that is unfolding right now, because I remember that was particularly what you wanted to see happen. So I'm so sorry that you haven't received a call from anybody on our end. I do apologize for that, but we will certainly fix it. Peter, thanks for calling in and also raising it. I think it just may have unfortunately fallen through the cracks. KD, you're in the Northern Cape. Good morning.
Good morning, Kathy, and the lady that is with you there, and the listeners. Kathy, I wanted to talk about this issue of reconciliation in terms of the TRC and what this lady who was with you earlier was saying. To be honest, I do not think that there can be ever a reconciliation between black people and white people in South Africa. Right now, the likes of AfriForum and the others, they are saying that there is a genocide of white people in South Africa. But we see they are living a luxurious life in South Africa, even after all this democracy since 1994. They have the money, they have got the farms, they have got the land, they have got the capital, they control many things, but still they have got an audacity to go to the United States of America and say that they are being genocided here. So there cannot be a reconciliation in South Africa between white people and black people.
It may not be possible entirely right now, KD, due to some of the prevailing circumstances that you've also highlighted, but you don't see perhaps future generations in 50 years from now, looking at the developments in South Africa, looking at the experience of South Africa and wanting something completely different, given the fact that they would be very separated from the ties of apartheid and what those connotations may or may not mean?
Okay, to be honest with you, there is only going to be a war before there is reconciliation in South Africa. Okay.
That's KD's view out in the Northern Cape. May, you're in Benoni. Good morning.
Morning, Cathy and your team and your guest. Just Cathy, I would like to talk about the gangsterism and the killings in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a lot. Every day, when you go to social media, open the radio, killings in this country. So my question is, what are our leaders saying about this thing? Because we've got leaders. They are leaders, they are getting paid in parliament. What are they saying about this? Can't they maybe come up with a strategy on how to eliminate crime in this country? Every day in and day out, we've got Zamas who are controlling this country, while we've got leaders in this country We've got gangsterism who are controlling this country. Why we've got leaders in this country?
All right.
Who will solve this thing? Because me and you, we can talk the whole day, but there are people who are in power, who can implement, who can enforce.
All right, May out in Benoni. Look, we did speak to the chairperson of the police portfolio committee in Parliament, and I think that how he articulated the problem is well understood. Now, what is the political will? What is the political will to bring in different types of intervention and actually truly work with communities, truly work with police officers and protect them too from seemingly the gangsters that they too are afraid of? Khanyi, this one is for you.
Good morning, Cathy. I'm a bit confused. Your guest saying Dumisani Ntsebeza represented Winnie Mandela at the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Dumisani Ntsebeza was leading the amnesty team and he was the commissioner. So how could he have been representing Winnie? I don't get it. This is a bit odd for me to hear.
Thank you so much. It is public information. So I think a simple search into the TRC. Remember, the TRC happened over a very long period of time, right? And if we particularly look at the 1997 special hearings into the Mandela United Football Club hearings, that's what my master's was focusing on, and that is the particular period. If you go and you look there, it's clearly stated, there's transcripts. So Mama will just have to do her own research to read further into it. But it's publicly, it's there. It's public knowledge.
Khanyi, when is your master's going to be available just for people to access it?
Look, WITS has a repository called Wired Space, right, which is where all dissertations and theses are put up. I graduated to the day today a month ago.
Oh, congratulations.
On the 17th of July. Though I got my master's officially in November last year, but the graduation was literally just a month ago. So from your graduation, it takes about 4 to 6 months for the theses to all be uploaded. So it's going to take a few months, for it to be publicly available. But I think that it is a great read because, we're looking at me putting together my training as a journalist and my work as a political analyst. So bringing together that intersection between media and politics and communication and looking at political ideology in the media using a case study of Winnie Madikizela Mandela and the Weekly Mail. And there's a bigger context in terms of why I was doing it. And I think it's important to merge academia to normal, quote unquote, normal society because our theses and our dissertations gather dust in these universities where we study them, but I think they make great reading, and there's a lot of things that are happening in society where academics have gone and done research, but they're not being integrated, those solutions, those research, those findings. There's a chasm between academia and society. And as such, that's why I'm saying, guys, my master's will be available. It will be up there. If you have the bandwidth to download 100 and something pages, go for it.
Or what you could also do is just convert it into a book, Khanyi. What is this? Trying to sleep on the job. You want half days here. Just write us a book, why don't you?
A book.
While you ponder that thought, while you're already an author,
Absolutely.
While you ponder that thought, let's bring in Rob with the latest traffic. Rob, good morning.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Stays busy at Randburg. Got the M1 going north. There's a crash between Bayes Nordia and Malabongwe Drive, causing that backlog. Bit of pressure as well further up the N1 from Rivonia through Macleod and up as far as Allendale Road. N3 south, a breakdown between Linksfield and Galulis, and a crash on the R24, Joburg bound at Edenvale. That's pushing a queue back towards the Barber Road exit. Plenty of traffic around the Crown interchange still. The Mike 1 from Goldreef City into Crown. The M2 from Benrose coming into that Mike 1 at Crown very slow as well. If you're out of Durban, heading heading up to Pietermaritzburg. All the obstructions after Ashburton have now been cleared, so that's starting to move on. Extensive closure of the M4. This is the Roothurst Highway from Ballito, down through Mshloti, down through towards Mshlanga, and about Mshlanga where the final bit of that closure ends off. It's a VIP convoy, so it's pushed a lot of traffic out onto the N2 south, causing havoc coming down from Mount Edgecombe on the M41 through to a closure of that route at Gateway down towards the M4 as well. So lots of pressure around the Mshlanga area. If you're wondering what's going on, it's primarily because of those closures for those VIPs. Also, the Commercial Highway, Chrisani, a crash at the N2. That's all heavily backed up, both on the Durban north side and on the Commercial side of that bridge system. Driving to Cape Town, the M5 stays heavy from Kenilworth towards the N2. The M3, Constantia through to around UCT, and a lot of traffic on Marine Drive at this moment, coming out of Tableview to Sunset Beach, and then from Milnerton through Pardon Island towards the busy N1. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
Running a courier business is so hard these days. The petrol price, the breakdown costs, and so much more. Luckily, I'm with My Way Business Insurance. I get to save up to 20% on my insurance premiums for my vehicles and goods in transit. And just like that, I have more money for all my costs.
Switch to My Way Business Insurance and save up to 20% on your vehicles and goods in transit. Real businesses, real savings. Call us on 0860 646464 today for a quote. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. Standard rates and T's and C's apply.
Mzansi, everyone matters, airtime and data to stay connected, 10,000 Rand to help with essentials, or even 100,000 Rand that could change the whole family story. Watch Skim Sam at 7:30 p.m, a new time slot for Uzalo at 8 p.m, and Generations The Legacy at 8:30 p.m. every weekday. Most importantly, spot the Daily Show code on screen. WhatsApp it to 076 288 7863. That's 076 288 7863 for your chance to win. It's 90 days of winning and 90 minutes of drama on SABC1. T's and C's apply. Visit sabc1.co.za.
Built in Mzansi on the National Briefing.
You're still tuned in to the National Briefing. We're getting into our Built in Mzansi segment, and our next guest builds artificial intelligence that works the way nature does and points it to real problems. Professor Nelisha Pillay, Department of Computer Science at the University of Pretoria. Professor Pillay, good morning to you. Thanks for your time this morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to your listeners as well. Thank you very much for having me on your show this morning.
So you are a scientist, and I'm going to ask you to do something that you may or may not find very easy to do. So think about that listener that's standing over their stove, burning themselves while trying to make breakfast. Explain it to me in very simple terms. Ant colony optimization. What is that?
Basically, it looks at the way the ant lives its life and the way it survives in nature. So the way it picks up food, the way it leaves, ants leave a scent when they're going through for other ants to follow the same path if there's good food in that direction. So basically, it's taking those ideas and using it to solve real world problems.
One of the things that you had to do as you were busy on your own academic journey was to look at work that's going to have a real impact in real life and move it away from being very academic and very lab-oriented. What has that resulted in?
So, I've been working in artificial intelligence for years now. My PhD was in artificial intelligence. And essentially, the work we did was to come up with new algorithms, like taking an analogy from the way ants live on a daily basis, taking analogies from the way Darwin's theory of evolution. But the problems we solved them on were very academic. They were benchmark sets of problems. And if you crack those benchmark sets and produce the best results, you got publications or you made a big contribution to the field. But where the gap was missing was what impact was that having on the real world and quality of life, economic development. And this is where the change happened. Can we actually come up with these techniques, with these artificial intelligence techniques, but that have impact on scalability and solving complex problems in the real world? So that's where the focus shifted. And what was very exciting at the time was the United Nations had this list of 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And for me, the very meaningful ones were health, education, and impact on industry, because all three of those goals impact our daily life, but they also impact economic development. So the first chair I had focused totally on the academic aspects of AI, coming up with new algorithms. The second chair, which I then molded, then looked at coming up with the same algorithms, but those algorithms needed to achieve more. They needed to be able to provide solutions to these complex problems, and then also some type of sustainability and scalability. So we looked at disease diagnosis. We've worked with different industries, different problems in industry, but also a lot in education, looking at lifelong learning and providing tools that can give the learner the ability to learn in their own time and space.
Professor Pillay, you're also the SACP Chair in AI for Sustainable Development. What do we need to be doing and using AI for to ensure that we don't widen the gaps that already exist in our society?
So there's two things that we need to look at when using AI. The one is accessibility, and the one is coming up, doing the academic side, the AI that can solve problems that we as humans are not very good at solving. So to give you an example, things like looking at X-rays and diagnosing things quicker, AI can do that. Things that make us tired, things that where we get tired can affect the decisions we make. So for example, if you look at people doing surgery, there's now the Da Vinci system. So you still need a surgeon behind that system, but what it helps solve is it's a robotic system. So, you have tremors in your hand when you're tired, or exhaustion from doing a number of surgeries a day. It helps to support jobs. So those are the type of systems we need to focus on. Coming up with AI techniques that can help improve things that we are doing. But what is very important is infrastructure and accessibility. And that's two things we need to look at. Physical infrastructure to support the AI systems, irrespective of where you are in the country, but also accessibility in terms of making it accessible to the non-expert. And that's one is in terms of training, but the second is also in terms of developing tools that make it accessible. And that's another area that our research group focuses on. So it focuses on looking at AI to come up with tools that can help people design AI systems without having computer science or AI knowledge, or even programming knowledge.
Professor Nelicia Pillay, Professor in the Department of Computer Science at the University of Pretoria. She also is leading the research group that is advancing artificial intelligence. They called Nature-Inspired Computing Optimization Group, NICOG. So much more that we could take out of that, right? We've come to the end of our time on air. Khanyi Magubane, it's been such a pleasure having you on. What does SAfm mean to this country?
There's still a place for it. I think that's the most important thing. We are 90 years down, 90 to go. As SABC's leading talk radio station, we are different in that we are not a music station. We are not a commercial radio station like a 5FM or a Metro FM. We talk to people, and this is why I think SAfm still matters, is still important, because as long as there's still something to talk about, SAfm needs to be talking to the people.
The blue and white is in her blood, ladies and gentlemen. Khanyi Magubane, let me thank you for coming in as we celebrate 90 years of the voices of SAfm. Up next, the Daily Discourse. Koketso Sashane in for Joanne Joseph. Let me hand you over to the news desk, and good morning.
Thanks, Cathy. In our top stories, police officer arrested in alleged extortion syndicate, and Spaza Shop Industries seeks level playing field. Good morning. 4 suspected extortionists, including a police officer, have been arrested in Bellville in Cape Town. Police spokesperson Novella Putelwa says the suspects are alleged to have collected money on behalf of an extortion syndicate. Authorities seized 120,000 rand in cash, 4 vehicles valued at approximately 3 million rand, and several cell phones during the operation. Vanya van der Heever reports.
It is alleged that the suspects extorted money from over 50 Somali and Ethiopian businessmen in the Kayamandi and Stellenbosch area. With the assistance of the Somalian businessman, who is believed to have collected the specified amounts of money on stipulated dates within a month on behalf of the suspects, the alleged extortionist would receive substantial amounts of cash on a regular basis. More arrests are expected in due course.
A popular traditional healer accused of killing an ANC Youth League member and 2 Metro Police officers is expected to apply for bail in the Hammersdale Magistrates Court west of Durban today. Ketukutula Ngiya was arrested last month by the KwaZulu-Natal Political Killings Task Team. He faces 3 counts of murder as well as charges of possession of unlicensed firearms. The state alleges he ordered the killings after suspecting that one of the Metro Police officers was having an affair with his wife. Nonjabula Mtungwa Makamo reports.
The state alleges Youth League member Thamsanqa Qabashe was mistakenly identified as Madonsela when he was shot and killed outside his home in Mpumalanga Township in May 2020. 14 days later, Madonsela was killed in an ambush outside his home when his colleague Ndumiso Thusi arrived to pick him up for work. Both officers were killed in the attack. Community members and families of victims are calling for justice and urging the court not to grant Ngayana bail.
The Small Business Development Minister, Stella Ndabeni, will today provide an update on the implementation of the Spaza Shop Support Fund. Ndabeni is expected to provide an update on the processing of applications as well as the support provided to qualifying South African-owned Spaza shops. She's also expected to address claims that foreign nationals benefited from the 500 million rand fund. President of the South African Spaza Shops Association, Kgotatso Ramutswa, has called on the minister to address long-standing economic imbalances which exist within the industry.
The feedback that we're getting from shops is that funding alone is not assisting them with anything. Remember now, you gave somebody funding, but there is no fair competition within the market on its own. Because our call was to say we need to be able to monitor the current market so that there must be a fair competition between South African spaza shops and foreign national spaza shops. So there is a lot of red tape that we need to also deal with. We need to look into what became a problem that has killed the South African in the spaza shop business.
SADC heads of state and government are gathering at the Durban ICC this morning. Among the key issues on the agenda is migration, with leaders expected to discuss its impact on the region. South Africa proposed that the matter be engaged at the highest level. Addressing the SADC organ troika on politics, defence and security, Malawi's second Vice President Enoch Chihana says member countries should also work together to ensure the stability of the region.
Consolidation of democracy is critical for maintenance of peace and security in our region. We must strengthen capacity of election observation mechanisms and to ensure that adequate resources are provided to this preventive mechanism in our region's peace architecture. Peace and stability in our region are indispensable.
Recapping the top story, 4 suspected extortionists, including a police officer, have been arrested in Bellville in Cape Town. For SAfm News, I am Anne Musa.
SAfm 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
Missed your favorite SABC education program on SABC Radio? With SABC Plus, you can catch up on all your favorite SABC education programs anytime and anywhere. On your phone, simply open the SABC Plus app, tap on demand, select radio, find SABC Education, select the podcast of your choice and press play. Or if you're on your computer, visit the SABC Plus website, www.sabcplus.com. Click on demand, choose radio, scroll to the SABC Education podcast section, select the podcast of your choice and press play. It's simple, convenient and always available when you are. Brought to you by the SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
Catch them Mzansi's beautiful game sport documentary.
For me, Neto, really, in the club football where I've played a lot of my football to with the ladies, at times I would play as a striker.
From the 5th of July to the 23rd of August 2026.
Banyana performance is like Bafana's performance right now at the moment. So we believe in them and we're proud of them. What they did, they did wonders to the country.
Brought to you by the SAFM's award-winning drama department. Ala Bafana Bafana. This is what we are becoming. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Looking for exclusive content, live events, and special broadcasts like the Madlanga Commission? Then connect to the all-new SAfm Connect stream. The Madlanga Commission, live and uninterrupted from 9:30 Monday to Friday. SAfm Connect brings you more of the conversations that matter. Listen anytime, anywhere by visiting connect.safm.co.za or stream directly on SABC Plus at sabc-plus.com. SAfm Connect. More conversations, more access. There's much more coming. The Daily Discourse on SAFM, unpacking the issues that matter. The Daily Discourse on SAFM, weekday mornings from 9 to 12.
It is 9 minutes past 9. Good morning and welcome to the Daily Discourse. Mondays to Fridays